This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. 3 men die in a Grand Bahama in an apparent industrial accident. Doctors Hospital says it's in crisis mode, nearing capacity to house and ventilate COVID patients. And government officials say they're unsure if the state of emergency will indeed end next month. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Revolution. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Chester Robards will be joining us. Also this morning, we are going to be talking about your health. Dr. Gregory Pinto is going to be joining us. We're talking about testosterone and obesity and COVID and erectile dysfunction and even infertility. What they are finding now with the correlation between all of these. We're going to talk about that and talk about vaccine hesitancy as well. That's coming up. And then later in Morning Blend Business, it's our twice monthly series with the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center. We've got some big news with Fidelity. They're going to be talking about all of that and the developments this morning. Plus, we'll meet another one of their success stories today. A lot to get to this morning, but first, it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while you're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, 3 men working at an industrial site on Grand Bahama found dead. According to police, the men were preparing scrap metal yesterday for export at City Services Limited in Freeport. Police say the men were found unresponsive inside a floating tank and that it's unclear how they died. Police also saying they received a call around 4:15 p.m. yesterday about the incident. When officers arrived, they met the 3 men, a Bahamian, a Dominican, and an American, unresponsive. They were later pronounced dead. Police explained that one of the men went inside the tank to do work. Investigations are continuing into this. Police not able to say whether toxic fumes might have been the cause of this and whether toxic fumes were in the tank. With the current declaration of emergency set to expire in a matter of weeks and COVID cases still rising, Health Minister Reverend Wells maintaining that no decisions have been made as yet on whether or not the government will extend the state of emergency. Wells, Attorney General Carl Bethel, and Prime Minister Hubert Minnis stating in recent months that it was the intention of the government to have the state of emergency expire on August 13th. It's been in place since March 2020. But Wells telling reporters yesterday that he didn't have an update on the matter and that those decisions will collectively rest with the entire cabinet. As the country's COVID situation worsens, Doctors Hospital CEO Dr. Charles Diggis saying that the hospital is in crisis and at capacity, near capacity, to house and ventilate COVID patients. He says more and more patients are coming in and the obligation is to accommodate them. He says, quote, if crisis is defined as we're really very close or we're exceeding our capacity and resources, then yes, it's safe and simple to say that we are now operating in a crisis mode. Overseas, the World Health Organization says the number of coronavirus deaths globally jumped by 21% in the last week. Most of the 69,000 deaths were reported in the Americas and Southeast Asia. The UN Health Agency also noting that COVID-19 cases rose by 8% worldwide and that there are now nearly 194 million infections. WHO saying that if these trends continue, the cumulative number of cases reported globally could exceed 200 million in the next 2 weeks. It added that the number of COVID deaths increased in all regions except for Europe. The biggest numbers of cases were reported in the US, Brazil, Indonesia, the UK, and India. Meanwhile, Germany says that half of its population has now been fully vaccinated, a milestone in a campaign that has slowed markedly in recent weeks. Officials releasing figures today showing that the number reached nearly 41.8 million, or 50.2% of the population as of yesterday, and more than 50.8 million, or 61.1% of the population, had received at least one vaccine dose. But the numbers are moving higher at a much more leisurely pace than they were several weeks ago. Australia's largest city, Sydney, will remain in lockdown for another month. The New South Wales state government said the lockdown of the city of 5 million would last at least until August 28th, after reporting Wednesday 177 new infections in the latest 24-hour period. It was the largest daily tally since the cluster was discovered in mid-June. The state premier telling reporters that she was upset and frustrated by the numbers. More than 2,500 people have been infected in a cluster that began when a limousine driver tested positive on June 16th for the contagious Delta variant. The driver had been infected by a U.S. air crew he transported from Sydney Airport. In South Korea, that country reporting a new daily high for coronavirus cases a day after authorities enforced stringent restrictions in areas outside the Seoul capital region, seeking to slow a nationwide spread of infections. The 1,896 cases announced Wednesday today, taking the country's total for the pandemic to 193,427, with 2,083 deaths. It was the highest daily jump since the pandemic began and surpassed a previous record of 1,842 announced last week. In sports, sources close within Shaunae Miller-Uibo's circle have confirmed that she will run both the women's 200 and 400 meters at the Olympics in Tokyo. That's according to our man in Tokyo. The Bahamian track and field superstar, who was denied the opportunity 5 years ago, is apparently determined, in consultation with her team, that this is the best source of action to take. You can read more about this in today's Guardian Sports section. And we have more from the Olympics from Sheldon Longley in Tokyo.
Good day, Bahamas. This is Sheldon Longley coming to you live from the site of the 32nd Olympiad here in Tokyo, Japan. Just one competitor in action for the Bahamas today. That was swimmer Isaac Bastian in the heats of the men's 200-meter breast. He was fifth in his heat and finished 36th overall in 2:17.40. Not good enough to make it to the semifinals. Just the top 16 times he made it through. Isaac ended up finishing about 7.5 seconds short of the semifinals, and he was about 2 seconds off of his national record time of 2:15.14. Once again finishing fifth in his heat and 36th overall in 2:17.40. That's going to end the swimming competition for Team Bahamas. Isaac had 2 swims at these Olympics. He was 40th overall in the men's 100-meter breast on Saturday and came back on Tuesday and finished 36th overall in the men's 200-meter breast. The other swimmer for the Bahamas, Joanna Evans, she also had 2 swims at these Olympics. She was 13th overall in the women's 400-meter free on Sunday, finishing in 4:07.80, and came back and finished 18th overall in the women's 200-meter free on Monday. So once again, the swimming competition is over for Team Bahamas. The 2 swimmers both had 2 swims, both falling short of the semifinals and the finals. And that's it for Team Bahamas as far as the swimming competition is concerned. And the athletics competition gets underway on Friday. So Wednesday is going to be an off day for the Bahamas as well as Thursday. And on Friday, we're going to have 3 Bahamians in action. Donald Thomas and Jamal Wilson. They're going to get the athletics competition underway with the qualifying rounds of the men's high jump. And following that will be the first round of the women's 100 meters. That's going to feature Tania Gaither. So once again, just Isaac Bastian in competition today. He was 36th overall in the men's 200-meter breast in 2:17.40. This is Sheldon Longley reporting live from the site of the 32nd Olympiad here in Tokyo, Japan.
And again, we'll have reports from our Sheldon Longley all weekend, all throughout the Olympics, here on Morning Blend and Guardian Radio 96.9. More from the Olympics. Simone Biles will not defend her Olympic title. The American gymnastics superstar withdrew from Thursday's all-around competition to focus on her mental well-being. USA Gymnastics saying in a statement today that the 24-year-old is opting to not compete. The decision comes a day after Biles removed herself from the team final following one rotation because she felt she wasn't mentally ready. Jade Carey, who finished 9th in qualifying, will take Biles' place in the all-around. Carey initially did not qualify because she was the 3rd-ranking American behind Biles and Sunisa Lee. International Gymnastics Federation rules limit countries to 2 athletes per event in the finals. The organization also saying Biles will be evaluated daily before deciding if she will participate in next week's individual events. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. In your weather for today, troughing near the extreme northwest Bahamas will trigger some pockets of showers and thunderstorms over portions of the northwest and central Bahamas through tonight. Meanwhile, high-pressure ridging remains. Will maintain moderate to locally fresh winds. Everybody's still being advised strongly to remain hydrated and limit prolonged sun exposure due to very high heat indices. Boaters in the northwest Bahamas also being advised to be alert for possible waterspout activity, and beachgoers in the southeast Bahamas should be alert for possible rip currents along south and east coast beaches. For all areas today, look for variably cloudy, hot, and humid conditions with a few isolated showers and a slight chance of isolated thunderstorms through tonight. Breezy conditions in the southeast Bahamas. Small craft caution remains in effect for the southeast Bahamas. Wind southeast to south at 10 knots or less in the northwestern islands, east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots in the central islands, and 15 to 20 knots in the southeastern Bahamas. Seas 3 feet or less in the northwest Bahamas, 2 to 4 feet in the central Bahamas, 4 to 6 feet in the southeastern islands. High temperatures today expected to get up to the mid-90s, around 94 Fahrenheit, 34 Celsius. This is crazy. The heat index will make it feel like 107 Fahrenheit, 42 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 77 Fahrenheit, 25 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook coming up after traffic in just a bit. It's time for a break, but when we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9, your home for fresh news and smart talk all day.
Cash is what we have been using for generations, but it's no longer the only way to pay or receive money. That is great news for business owners. I'm Lasanya Mizik, Managing Director at RBC Royal Bank, encouraging you to find out how going cashless can benefit your business with faster transactions and settlements, better cash flow management, plus reduce risk of theft. Learn more at rbc.com/Caribbean/go cashless. RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Stay a step ahead of technology with certainty and support from Custom Computers. Our know-how team is here to help you zero in on your next big tech purchase, finding solutions that take your productivity to the next level using only the best and most reliable brands. With stores in Palmdale, West Bay, and Old Fort Bay, and free delivery to businesses, there's no stopping you from stepping up your tech. Reach out to us at 396-1100. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. 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 Wake up, wake up.
We're back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9, and we're streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and on BTC Flow Channel 612. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Joining me now, I don't think I said this name out loud in the studio for a while. Feels a long time. Chester Robards.
Aloha.
Whoa, you're showing off now. Back from vacation.
Yes.
Okay, look
Yes.
at you. Look at you. Back. Welcome back.
Thank
Hope
you.
had a great time.
Thank you. Mahalo.
So I guess it's not a secret. You're telling people where you've been.
Yeah, did they know?
I don't know. Did we talk about it? Anyway, you've been in Hawaii.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. What was that like?
Amazing.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
How long were you there?
A week?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. How does it compare to the Bahamas?
Nothing beats the Bahamas.
Oh.
Water, I'll tell you that. But, the topography is different.
Yes.
I'm a lover of mountains and,
So
and
you're right at home.
volcanoes and rainforests. I was in heaven.
Oh, man. Did you do hiking? You were hiking and stuff like that?
No, but we did go to a waterfall.
Okay.
And we did go surfing.
Nice.
We did go to the top of Haleakala.
Say what now?
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah.
That's
It was a
volcano?
mountain. It's a volcano.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Volcanic mountain. Yeah.
Wow. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
cool.
very beautiful.
I've always wanted to go there. It's on the list, on the bucket list.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to
Long
it.
flights, but
Right, I can imagine. But anyway, great to have you back.
Thank you.
Finally. Yeah. All right. A lot to get to this morning. You can join the conversation as well on Twitter at MorningBlend969 or Facebook, facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Email us, morningblend@nasguard.com, or you can text us on the Guardian Radio text line, powered by BTC, 422-4796. Standard text rates apply. Coming up this morning, more weather and traffic. We're going to be talking about your health this morning as well. Dr. Gregory Pinto is going to be joining us. We're talking about the links we're seeing between testosterone and obesity, or testosterone and COVID. and testosterone, ED, erectile dysfunction, and infertility as well. So a lot to get to with him this morning. And then later in our Morning Blend Business Hour, we're going to be talking with our friends at Access Accelerator, Small Business Development Center, our twice-monthly series, looking at what they're doing. They have a partnership with Fidelity Bank. We're going to talk to them about that and meet one of their success stories, as we always do. That's coming up. A lot to get to this morning, but let's begin with what's in the news. And in the news, word broke about this late yesterday afternoon. This is a tragedy. 3 men dying in Grand Bahama in an apparent industrial accident. Our Travis Cartwright Carroll writing about it today. 3 men working at an industrial site on the island were found dead yesterday, according to Assistant Superintendent of Police Stephen Roll. The men were preparing scrap metal for export at City Services Limited in Freeport. Roll says the men were found unresponsive inside a floating tank. He said it's unclear how they died. He said police received a call around 4:15 p.m. yesterday. When officers arrived, they met the men, a Bahamian, a Dominican, and an American, all unresponsive. They were later pronounced dead. Roll says that one of the men went inside the tank to do work. And then we're told, quote, once the first male did not return, the second individual went down to search for him. He didn't return. And then the third man went down. He also didn't return. Wow. He said this caused another man who was working on an adjacent property to question where the men were. The worker eventually assisted in the recovery of the bodies. Roll says he could not say if there were toxic fumes in the tank. In a statement, City Services said, quote, it deeply regretted the terrible loss. One Bahamian, a longtime employee of the company, and 2 foreign nationals all were preparing scrap metal for export from Grand Bahama when a tragic accident occurred. The company is contacting next of kin and helping police with their investigations. The statement also says that City Services directors were at the scene immediately after being notified and worked to ensure that the relevant authorities had full accessibility to the accident scene and access to the staff. Yeah, wow.
That's crazy.
Really unfortunate.
Yeah.
So we'll keep you updated on what exactly happened there. Mm-hmm. In other news, I'm sure we need to do a whole show on this. Some people seem to be disturbed by it. There's a big picture of it on the front page of the Nassau Guardian. A mother with her kids looking on at Prince George Wharf as the air is being filled to accommodate the developments downtown, the redevelopment of the cruise port, and this
Some
is, I
people
guess,
really seem to be disturbed by it.
Yeah, people on social media were like, doing the sad faces and the angry faces and the other unusual comments.
I think people are artificially disturbed by things these days, just to start some silly conversation online.
Yeah,
to be honest,
I 100% agree with you. I'm like, finally. Because hopefully this is a part of the boardwalk as well that we've been talking about for decades, it seems.
That's going to be a part of a lot of the things you see if you've ever looked at the drawings of what the port's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that's going to be going there.
We need to do a whole lot more down there.
Yeah.
We need to see a whole lot more construction going on. And yes, it will involve dredging. We need to turn this into a modern-looking city. Mm-hmm. We should have been doing this years ago.
Yeah. Well, they're dredging a whole lot less than what was dredged to increase the turning basin in the harbor.
That's right.
I mean, they're only really dredging around the area where they put ships.
And if you want to talk, look back at what this place looked like 100 years ago.
Right.
You wouldn't recognize it. This has been going on.
It's true.
So everybody should calm down if you've been getting overly excited about it. Now, let's ensure that they are doing this in an environmentally safe way.
Yeah.
I know that's challenging, but progress needs to happen.
Well, I mean, you do what you can do within, the realm of safe environmental works, right? The Department of Environmental Protection obviously was involved. So they would have said, okay, take this precaution, take that precaution, go ahead.
Yes.
This is what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Development. So.
Absolutely. And I'm sure what's going to be there is going to be mind-blowing compared to
what are
we've
people
experienced.
putting the sad emoji face down for?
I don't know what's going on.
The bottom of the water, of the ocean?
I saw some people say,
Are they going to miss that area of water that...
I heard somebody say about how this is where the kids used to dive off the dock to get the coins from the tourists, which many people have thought, oh, please. People were so offended that we used to do
that, yeah.
Like little... Right? What? Huh? So let's stop it. Yeah. Stop it right now.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
What? Nah.
What we're going to do, this is what we're going to tell the children that the water used to... Stop.
Okay.
Anyway, maybe you see things differently. Tell us. Give us a call. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. Let's hear what you have to say about that. All right. Whoa, the calls are coming in already. So, yeah, let's hear what you have to say about that. I mean, what I want to see downtown. Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, have to do more than that, huh?
I want to... You just came back. You were in Honolulu?
I was in Honolulu for a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you go to a tourist destination, which is what that really is. And you look at it and you go, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing? I mean, why are we missing so much things? Why do we look like this?
Why do we look like this? Every day.
Yeah.
And once in a while, I don't have much occasion to go downtown, but once in a while I say, let me see what's happening. Yeah. And around the point looks great, Margaritaville, but we know there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, that area. Yeah, we have. When you look on the southern side of the street near the point and Marguerite, you see old some properties were redeveloped by, new money. You got old properties that are still there.
Oh my!
That some people still own, even though the place looks like it hasn't been used in, 100 years.
Yeah.
And it's still operating how it used to operate, and nobody's saying anything. Nobody's doing anything. People aren't being fined for property that looks like trash.
Right.
And that's what should start happening, right?
Well, that's what they said they're going to do. Prime Minister Medicine announcing that again.
Yeah.
They're going to start taking legal action if necessary against these people. But, just what I've been seeing from Tokyo, another place I desperately want to go to.
Yeah.
I mean,
me too.
It is, and it doesn't look like some other Asian cities, right? There's so much living space, accommodation, and green space. Yeah. And there's so many examples. We don't have to copy, but there are examples of how we can do things better. Yeah. And I hope we are paying attention.
What struck me most is there's so much pride in certain things. From Hawaii is an American territory, but the Hawaiians really they have their own culture,
right?
And you see it. It's very prideful, and they take pride, and they take care of like statues of their heroes and stuff.
Excellent.
It looks really nice.
One day we will be able to talk like this, Chester. One day. Yeah. Let's see what you have to say on the phone lines. Good morning, caller. You are on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dwight. Chester.
Hi, good morning.
I mean, that's part right there. While I agree, I'm not in disagreement, development, because for tourist destination, development is important, because to come back.
For us too. We need to develop it for us.
And for us too, but definitely for us, because, generations, my grandparents, them could have come back and identified that same spot because they didn't really do nothing for the last 60, 70 years in the area, and this is why tourism isn't booming in Bay Street the way it was one point, or cut off because the development, the same thing over and over and over. Mm-hmm. But I mean, apart from that, that spot right there that used to be our first, fish dock, market dock, before it went out to Porter's Dog. Mm. Right? So I hope some recognition of that is given because it really is a little for some people who could remember, because most now Serbians living today know what it used to be on that wharf right there. But it's good to see development in Nassau. But hey, east of East Street, the government in order for that to really work, in my view, the government gonna have to take serious action on the owners heading east, because there to be some type of duplicate or something to complement what is happening on in the back there, because it's a side sight to come from something as beautiful as they planning to do right there, and then you turn east.
Yeah, it's
you could almost forget what you just did.
It is dispiriting. Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Hi, caller. Good morning.
Good morning, Dwight Manchester.
Hi.
Morning.
I think most women don't realize that where the current horse and buggy section is, that was actually water, and that was filled in.
Mm-hmm.
But you should have Sam Duncan on your show one time to explain what happened when they did fill that in, because current changed, and that caused a direct erosion of Jungle Beach. Jungle Beach actually is half the size it was before they did that.
Wow.
So I suspect that what they did this time might actually cause more erosion of Jungle Beach. And when they filled in part of our key, that section, that caused an erosion of Sanders Beach.
Right.
So
some things have changed out there, definitely.
Yeah. So what I would say is I wouldn't take no weight in what the Environmental Protection Agency says, because that basically sits under the purview of the Prime Minister.
Well, no, you can't say that.
He has the final say as to what happens.
I think we know more today, of course, than we did a few years ago.
Right. I'm just saying the Prime Minister has the final say as to what happens. He is in charge of that agency. Now, I'm part of the pre-hospital care, community, and condolences to the family members of those guys that died. But tragically and unfortunately, it's going to happen again, because we have no laws governing companies that allow people to go in and do this type of work without the proper protective equipment. I've seen it happen before, where some guys went in to clean a tank that stores fuel, and the same thing happened. That happened years ago, but like I said, it's going to happen again because there are no laws governing to ensure that these companies ensure that their people have the proper equipment. I like to listen.
Okay, thank you very much.
You wonder about that in the construction industry here all the time, because somebody took a picture and it was on social media the other day with some guys on a roof that the pitch was crazy. Like, it wasn't flat. It certainly looked like a teepee. And they definitely didn't have any protective equipment on. I don't know what they were doing up there, but that happens all the time. Like, construction companies doing roofing and stuff will send guys up on these areas with no protective equipment.
Not even gloves and knee pads or anything.
That could never happen next door.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right, let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Dwight, on your co-host.
Hi.
I visited the back of the straw market. In the back of there was commerce. Tourists going on cruise. Tourists going to the swimming pigs. It was you know, the front was busy. In the back of so had the government made way for them people to go somewhere else to make dollars? If that been filling, they wouldn't be able to pull their boat up to the dock. But in the back of the straw market, I sit and watch. Major money go over there. Tourists coming in and out. Tourists on the rental scooters. So what happened to the small man? If the big cruise company gonna block that in, that's the point there. Who looks out for the small man? That's what we need to find out. Did the idler look for the small man when he allowed this when he allowed them to fill in the dock? Did he allow them to go somewhere else?
Okay, all right. Interesting question.
Would that prohibit this, even the store market? Would that hinder them? Is there going to be a wall there or what?
A what?
A wall or fence separating the poorest people from the store market.
Mm-hmm. Interesting questions. Thank you very much.
So, to answer your question, no, actually, there's going to be more access to the area of the dock that you don't have access to now after they've done with the redevelopment.
They've been talking about that.
Yeah.
And vendors and people who have plans, right?
Right.
To have stalls and booths and lots of... Yeah.
If the small man is the Surrey driver, he's going to have a better looking space. If the small man is the vendor, they're going to have nicer spaces there. If the small man is the taxi driver, they're going to have a well-manicured system now of pulling up and picking up passengers.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the small man you're talking about. If the small man is the straw market vendors, then they're going to have many more people because of the redevelopment coming onto New Providence
hopefully
to shop.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to these text messages. I can't speak for others, but my sad face was for the memories of waiting at that wharf to board some kind of boat cruise or sail away. Dang, I really miss doing those things. Ah, well.
What, you gonna miss that cut? Is that what they thought? I mean, literally, it was a rectangular cut.
Sure, they'll have a better place.
So now they're gonna have a better place for you to board.
Place.
A much nicer, probably a much more safe place to board.
Hopefully, you'll get to do that soon. COVID is trying to prevent us from doing anything. It seems.
Well, all that stuff ain't gonna be done for another year.
Someone says, in a democracy, shouldn't all stakeholders have a say, not just shut up and go along with decisions made without any input or consultation from the public? Now, what are you talking about? Did you just get here last week? Where have you been?
Stakeholders.
Where have you been? You know how long we've been talking? Yes, in a democracy, that's how it should work. We do live in one. Because I don't know where you're coming from. Anyway, how
many stakeholders do we need a green light from in order to move forward with certain things? Did we need that particular stakeholder?
Well, I mean, what did you want to happen? Are you complaining about it, or do you think it should just stay the way it was? Yeah? Okay. This one here, these stiff-necked Israelites will murmur and complain about any and everything and blame the government for their lack of bettering themselves. Okay. Hey, texter, you should call in. You should call in. You know who I'm talking to, the person who's texting you. You call in. How about that? 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. That will ensure exactly what you're texting about. So you call in. On this one here, wasn't the development on Bay Street on the books from the 90s? I'm glad that it's getting done. Yeah, we've been talking about this forever.
You know, they've been taking little bites at it.
Okay.
Little tiny, teeny.
Ad-size bites.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one says here, there is a Health and Safety at Work Act that insists on PPE, but enforcement, as always, is the issue. That's in response to what the caller said.
I was going to say, I couldn't believe that isn't on the books. Like, you gotta have protective equipment at work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, many people are like, oh, I've been doing this for years. I don't need that. Nah, that's just going to slow me down. I don't know. Often people talk like that, sadly.
But your employer should insist on it.
Right. True.
It ain't like you could just be like, nah, I ain't wearing that.
Yeah.
No, you're wearing it.
Yeah.
Or you ain't working.
Yep. This text here. I don't blame people for being upset. Some of us aren't as enlightened, and they have that in quotation marks, as others. We need information. The fault is with the project developers. They should have told us what was involved. Oh, no. You need to stop.
Wait.
Stop.
You sent a whole text to say that?
Stop. That's really sad. That's really sad. Yeah. Let me continue reading the text, though. They should have told us what was involved, and there should have been assurance from local environmental protection that our island would achieve no negative impact. As an aside, the point development looks awful and tacky. Oh, a strip mall crammed in a tiny corner. I'm still wondering which city planner approved it. City planner. That's jokey. That's jokey. That's jokey.
Yeah.
We can do something about that part, though. But when I bring up local government, all of you send me nasty text messages. Anyway, this person says, some might say that Arawaki and Long Wharf are developed. In my opinion, it's a complete mess, an authorized shanty town on the beach. Each year, the haphazard structures encroach and cover more and more of the beach. Our valuable asset, we have no idea of our value. Okay, now you're talking about some important things, but that's not quite related to what we are discussing. But that is important. And again, if we had city planning, if we had local government, we would be able to handle these issues better. Right now, which department is responsible for the look of the city of Nassau or any neighborhood in this country? Where? Who? Besides the gated community that has a community, right? Who gets to say where things should be and what it should look like?
The downtown Nassau partnership
please.
did have, I think they had purview all the way down to Fish Fry, maybe even past it.
And yet East of East Street looks like the way,
you know.
So their powers were so limited.
Well,
it was not a real local government authority
because they never got that business improvement district thing done.
Let's not do half.
They didn't have any power. Let's put it that way. They didn't have any power. Yeah.
Let's go all the way and be sensible about it.
And there's people with money who have greater power than even the government.
Well, money always has the power,
right? And so that's why East of East Street looks the way it looks.
Yeah, we know that. All right.
Cannot bite the hand that feeds you.
Oh?
No matter what.
Well, you could.
No, clearly you cannot.
I mean, you could, but the consequences, you have to be able to say, I can live with it, or...
So, okay, did not bite the hand that feeds
we
them.
don't like to.
Have not bitten the hand that feeds them.
We're too afraid to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take these calls really quickly. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, you know, our problem is that, especially the problem of the small man, who the so-called the small man. The small man is the proletariats of the nation, the workers of the nation. You see, we got a class, they call themselves, what they say, they are civil society, but they are the bourgeois, they are the middle class. The doctors, the lawyers, they're the middle class, you know. They're the middle class, some of them are the high middle class. So, and these are the people who are the shareholders who gain from these share offerings. You see, in every project, everything in the Bahamas. You see, when ministers and them said all this, the people's time and the like, that's the people's time. It's the middle class people's time.
What is the problem with that? We don't understand what you're saying.
The problem with that is you can't say you going for the poor man, and plus the poor man is the majority. You see, the working class is the majority, not the middle class.
Oh, okay.
They're the majority, and when they realize who they are, and then they would realize that the bourgeois, these people are the ones who exploit them.
Oh, okay. We can't continue with this because you're talking about most of us here right now. But anyway, so you know what? It will be best, as it has always been, for the middle class and the working class to work together. Right? I think that's where most of us are in the world, right? We don't need to be at odds with each other, right? We need to be working together against the forces that are trying to hold us down.
Listen, everybody feels the hierarchy.
You were trying to start something to make the middle class your enemy. I don't understand. Well, I don't know if this is the show for that. Or this station, actually. I'm sorry. Just being honest. You got to do maybe some underground radio for that kind of stuff. What?
Come on, Dwight. Everybody feels there's a class above them holding them back.
Oh, okay.
Everyone does.
I mean, we're supposed to, the middle class is destroying the country. What? It's the middle class that's got the whole country on its back.
Pretty much.
Right? Struggling every day to deal with everything going on around here. Okay. One final call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning.
Hi. Hi, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Dwight. Interesting discussion here, right?
Yes.
I think we should not be so dismissive, though, right? Some of us aren't always aware of what's happening. And when you look at this project was really an unsolicited project.
What do you mean by that?
Well, this project was not solicited by the government. This was submitted by Arawak Port. When the government won and came into office, this project moved swiftly.
No, I think you're mixing up some stories.
No,
Well, I don't think I am.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about the redevelopment of downtown. I don't remember the redevelopment of the port in this way being part of that main discussion.
There was a bidding process. There were a number of companies issued bids.
One bid was unsolicited, and then they had a process of bringing in other bidders.
From what I recall, the project was unsolicited. The container port proposed this redevelopment, and that started the process, right?
Are you saying there's something wrong with that?
Well, for one thing, my concerns about the project, even from that time, were that the container port, who can already control the shipping industry in the Bahamas practically, now has control of the cruise port for another 25, 30 years.
But it's not the container port, though.
Well, it's the container port in partnership with a foreign cruise company that owns the port and is using Bahamian dollars to fund, the development. We could have kept...
Not exactly.
Well,
okay.
The thing, my point is, the model of the development could have been done a whole lot better, right? And it did not have to go in controlling hands of a private entity for 25 years or 30 years, whatever.
So what were we waiting for to do it? Because people have been saying it needed to be done since I was young.
The thing it is, right, it needs to be done. How it's being done, the model is a different question, right? And so, because it needs to be done, it does not mean that any model is best suited for it to be done. I hope that when it's finished, right, it represents opportunities for every class of Bahamian. That generally has been the case for these areas as they take shape, right? Like if you look at fish fry, it's mostly been those who were struggling to survive, didn't have access to a lot of the mainstream economies for various reasons. Something starts to happen, and a major development comes in and potentially can displace these people or people of that type. You see, and then we see it as something needs to be done, and disregard the social impact and also the economic impact that it could potentially have. And so we want to see the area develop. But more importantly, we want to see that Bahamian stake is maintained in our number one industry, and we're not always sidelined in the name of development or big business.
Right now, east of East Street, nothing's happening. So the Bahamians who can do it, for God's sake, now is your time. Do it, right?
Well, it's always Bahamian time because this is the Bahamas. So whenever it's done, if it's done...
No. We need it now. We need it now. It looks horrible. It is a disaster. It is a disgrace.
Things now, but even if it happens 50 years...
No, it can't. It can't. And this is why we are where we are now, because the foreign people are coming in and doing it because y'all clearly don't want to or are not interested. That's how it looks.
Saying y'all, Dwight. I mean, this is...
You're saying let it ride for another 50 years.
No, I'm not saying let it ride for another 50 years.
You just said that.
Whenever it happens...
It needs to happen now.
50 years later, it should happen in a certain way.
Oh, no. We can't be that passive about it.
Happen now, regardless of the impact, the social or economic impact it has on the majority of us, Bahamians. I mean, it's no use a development happens through your corner when it has no positive impact on you, but you get to look at a couple of big buildings and a lot of tourists coming in and say, oh, it's developed, but you're still struggling to survive. How does that benefit you?
Well, we have no indication that's what's going to happen here.
Well, the thing is, we don't, but nor do we have any indication yet. That
all right, so we are just complaining for the sake of complaining now. That's what it is? Yeah. But I don't understand.
But see, he didn't even talk about the important part, right? Somebody builds a big development on your block. It happens, right? Somebody passed some legislation that allowed it to go, right? So what's the next thing you do? What do you do? Stand up and picket? You complain? If 100 new people are passing through my yard, I selling them something. That's the way I think, right? I'm going to sell them something.
They had the idea, you didn't. Well, okay, good.
Now capitalize on it.
Take advantage
now
of it.
capitalize on it.
Saying about everything.
20,000 new people are going to be able to come through the cruise port.
The same thing we've been saying about that, about the home porting as well, right?
Yeah.
These people are here now. What are we doing to capitalize?
Yeah. I'm sure you can make $10 easy off of somebody right now coming off a cruise ship. But no, we're going to complain. We're going to just complain. Oh, nobody's looking out for me. Maybe you just have to look out for yourself. That's just the way the world works.
If this started with an unsolicited bid, Bahamians make an unsolicited bid for something east to East Street and shoot your shot. Right? What are you waiting for?
Let's
if
be honest.
You have the plan.
We would have had a caller like that if the cruise lines had won the bid. If the group of cruise lines had won the bid to rebuild the port or redevelop the port,
and there was a
right?
Bahamian who was part of a group who was bidding too.
If Bahamians had won, if the group of Bahamians had won the bid to redevelop the port,
maybe
somebody was going to call and complain about what was happening out there. Yeah. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is.
About how they didn't know, they didn't hear the plans, they didn't see this. They didn't.
Who are these people? Is they connected? Who are they connected to? How they win this?
It was the F&M.
That's the F&M. You can't win. You can't win here.
Could have been PLBs. Yeah. Maybe. Somebody. They had to be political.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. You can't win here.
Ah, boy. This is why, 50 years we will be talking about the same stuff.
It's true.
Because it's fine as long as Bahamians do when they're ready.
Right. I can't believe that mentality. Right?
There'll be fires every day east to East Street, but we ain't ready to deal with that yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we? Let's take one more call, and then we got to take a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. And just Chester?
Yes, it is. Chester, yes.
I think that the port development is a step in the right direction. But why can't the downtown project redevelopment happen simultaneously during this construction phase? Because I look at it this way. All those derelict buildings downtown, why can't the government put in motion or make some laws, put some ordinance on these property owners, and after a certain period of time, if they don't fix those buildings, demolish those buildings? Have you ever been to Vegas, Dwight?
I haven't yet, no.
Okay. When you have a chance, go online and pull up Fremont Street Lighting Show. Okay? There's the whole entire old Vegas that they have under canvas, and it's a tourist attraction. And they redevelop all those old hotels and all those old stores, and it's a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of persons go to Vegas, but they only go on the Strip. That there is even better than the Strip. And we can do the same thing down Bay Street. Because all this is canvas, lights, music. It's something for people to really want to come to your country to see. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Totally.
And I think we really have to think about doing the downtown partnership redevelopment at the same time while you're doing the port, because after the port is completed, right, it will be closed off. It's a tourist attraction, right? Bahamians will have employment, but the thing about it, Bay Street, if it's not redeveloped at the same time, will be dead, because they intend to put a mall, or a strip mall, also in that same location where the port is going to be anyway. You understand what I'm saying? So we got to think out of the box instead of just waiting for one development to happen while downtown is dying slowly but surely. Thank you, man.
All right, thanks a lot. Strip mall, shops. But sure, okay. Yeah. But yeah, you're making some great points. Hey, this would be a lot easier if we had city management, city government. It would be a lot easier if there could be a plan, because right now it's going to be haphazard. I want this here, but what about this there? And no cohesiveness in the look, and that's always a problem. But city management, city government would make a big difference in determining where things should go and how it should work. But when you leave it up to something as vague as the government, then we're going to run into problems.
I got to take it back to what I've seen recently, right? So, in Hawaii, on the Big Island, which is called Hawaii, a tsunami wiped out what used to be the town, and so they had to move the town back past the shoreline, way past the shoreline, and into the hills, kind of. But the old buildings that were there from the 1900s, they left it. So right now, the place looks like a cowboy town.
Oh, wow.
But they take care of the buildings, and that's part of the attraction. The attraction of Hilo, that area, is that it looks like a cowboy town.
Right.
But all modern stores.
Yeah.
But the facade is, just like cowboy.
That goes to my joke from years ago about how we should turn East Street to like a ghost town video game, and people would actually come and pay money to go through there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, look at all these, right? Could create some stories and make it like a theme park if we're not going to fix it. Take advantage of our complacency.
Yeah.
Make some money off that.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Look at this. This used to be a hotel 100 years ago, but look at it now. Yeah.
Put some characters in there.
Right. Yeah, he's sleeping over there on the floor.
Well, I know that.
Okay. Anyway, this is Morning Blend. We're going to take a break and be back. Stay with us.
Yes, man.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
This is AP News. I'm Rita Foley. It's okay not to be okay. That's Michael Phelps talking, winner of a record 23 Olympic gold medals. He's been open about his mental health struggles and says it breaks his heart to watch superstar gymnast Simone Biles struggle. Simone Biles is now pulled out of tomorrow's all-around competition in the Tokyo Olympics to focus on her mental health. Olympic Committee spokesman Mark Adams says they are supporting their athletes.
There is in the village, on top of all the psychologists and so on that we have there, there is also a helpline in 70 languages, which will keep going after the Games.
Tokyo is now reporting a record high number of daily COVID infections. Our Charles de Ledesma is overseas with this.
Tokyo has been under a fourth state of emergency since July 12, ahead of the Olympics, which began last Friday, despite widespread public opposition and concern that they could further worsen the outbreak. Experts say Tokyo's surge is being propelled by the new, more contagious Delta variant of the virus. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
That Delta variant of the coronavirus is spreading fast here in the U.S., too. The CDC wants you to put the mask back on in those areas where infections are rising, even if you are vaccinated. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky.
The most important thing that we need to say right now is we have a lot of this country that has a lot of viral burden. That's driven a lot by people and mostly by people who are unvaccinated.
Authorities in Corona, California are asking for help as they investigate a shooting that killed an 18-year-old woman and seriously wounded a 19-year-old at a movie theater. They were found by theater workers cleaning up after the late-night showing of a violent horror movie. This is AP News. Have you been watching the Olympics? Ratings are in. Our Oscar Wells Gabriel has them.
The first 3 nights of NBC's Olympic coverage have not exactly been winners. Each of the night's ratings has been down more than 30% from those posted for the Games in 2016. And the prospects are not exactly pointing to an upswing before the Games end. There's been a spate of bad news involving U.S. athletes. It is unclear whether the drop in viewership can be blamed on the lack of interest in the Olympics after their 1-year delay because of the coronavirus, or it may just reflect the fact that fewer of us are watching traditional TV between all the cord-cutting going on and the proliferation of streaming services available. I'm Oscar Wells Gabriel.
ZipRecruiter says the number of job postings on its site that are paying $15 an hour has more than doubled since 2019. The official federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. Jobs offering signing bonuses and other benefits are up too. I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
Got your first look at traffic for this morning brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. In your real-time traffic, we've got Milo Butler Highway, heavy traffic northbound lanes for you, heading towards Tonic Williams-Darling Highway. And some congestion on Tonic Williams-Darling Highway as well, especially west of that roundabout with Milo Butler Highway. Gladstone Road also busy northbound to JFK Drive this morning. Elsewhere, on Blue Hill Road, northbound of Soldier Road, north of Soldier Road, you'll be seeing that heavy traffic there over that hill getting to Independence Drive. And Independence Drive backed up a bit westbound to that roundabout with Blue Hill Road. Also on Tawny Williams-Darling Highway, leaving that roundabout, that area, you're going to be seeing quite a bit of traffic there. Not sure if there's an incident there on the highway. Keep that in mind if you're heading westbound, just west of Independence Drive and Blue Hill Road. Those are your hot spots for now. We'll have another real-time report for you just after the 8 o'clock news. That's your Morning Blind Traffic Alert brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. And time for another check of your weather for today. Troughing near the extreme northwest Bahamas will trigger some pockets of showers and thunderstorms over portions of the northwest and central Bahamas through tonight. Meanwhile, high-pressure ridging will maintain moderate to locally fresh winds. Everyone's being advised to limit outdoor activity as we're expecting high heat indices, triple-digit indices again today. Boaters in the northwest Bahamas should be alert for possible waterspouts, and beachgoers in the southeast Bahamas should exercise caution along south and east coast beaches. For all areas today, look for variably cloudy, hot, and humid conditions with a few isolated showers and the chance of isolated thunderstorms through tonight. Breezy conditions in the southeast Bahamas. Small craft caution remains in effect for the southeastern islands. Temperatures today getting up to around 94 Fahrenheit, 34 Celsius. The heat index at 107 Fahrenheit, 42 Celsius today. Lows tonight getting down to around 77 Fahrenheit, 25 Celsius. In your extended outlook, a weak pressure pattern will meander and persist across the islands through Friday. So for tomorrow, Thursday, partly to mostly sunny, hot and breezy, mainly in the central and southeast Bahamas with a few isolated showers and the chance of isolated thunderstorms near the extreme northwest Bahamas. Friday, partly cloudy, hot and breezy, mainly in the central and southeast Bahamas with a few isolated showers and the chance of isolated thunderstorms near the extreme northwest Bahamas. The tropics, relatively quiet, tropical cyclone formation unexpected through the next 5 days. That's your morning blend weather check. Weather check brought to you by Carey's Fabric and Uniform Store. Carey's Fabric and Uniform Store on Mackey Street having a 20% off sale on all school uniforms and school uniform fabric. They're now accepting orders to have your uniform skirts custom made. The sale ends this Saturday, July 31st. Call Carey's Fabric and Uniform Store at 393-0758 for more information. That's Carey's Fabric and Uniform Store. The sale going on now.
Travel less, but vacation more by indulging yourself and your family with the ultimate staycation getaway at Atlantis. Sleep in, relax, play, go out. Say yes to a fantastic staycation in your very own paradise just over the bridge. For reservations, call 363-6483 or visit Atlantis Local on Facebook for details.
RBC Royal Bank introduces our new Saturday banking services on Saturday, July 17th at Cable Beach, Carmichael, and Prince Charles, operating 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. New services will focus on helping clients with advice-oriented needs and getting them more comfortable with RBC digital banking. Cash will only be available through our ATMs and accepted for deposits via our ATMs or non-stop depository services. If you have questions, call our advice center at 356-8500. Reimagine Saturday services with RBC.
It's so summer with Esso, and that's why we're giving away thousands of dollars in fuel, food, and other fun prizes every week. Simply fuel up with $25 or more. Enter using your receipts, and you could be a winner this summer with Esso. Terms and conditions apply. Visit bettergasmileage.com/its-so-summer or our Facebook page for details. Promotion ends August 29th, 2021. It's fun! food, fuel, and other great prizes every week. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
Enjoy an elevated mobile experience with BTC, giving you
unlimited talk for the best conversations, unlimited data for all your online fun,
and unlimited roaming to stay connected while overseas.
For just $50 per line.
Unlock unlimited mobile talk, data, and roaming when you sign up for BTC Superfast Fiber Internet with speed starting at 100 megabits per second. Enjoy more great savings and value. Upgrade or sign up today. Visit any BTC store or btcbahamas.com. Conditions apply.
Switching your mortgage to CIBC First Caribbean is easy, affordable, and convenient. We'll help with your switching cost, give you 3 months payment free, and waive your commitment fees so you can enjoy the break you need. Plus, you'll get up to 95% financing and a pre-approved Visa Gold or Platinum credit card with 5,000 bonus reward points and more. Switch your home base to CIBC First Caribbean. Terms and conditions apply. Visit CIBCFCIB.com for more information.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
21, and you're listening to the Guardian News Network Morning Report. Hello, everyone. I'm Charlene Ferguson. Thanks so much for tuning in. Topping the news. City Services Limited has confirmed the 3 workers killed at their site in Freeport yesterday were preparing scrap metal for export when they were tragically killed by a source as yet officially undetermined. The company, while expressing deep regret over the incident, confirmed the victims included a longtime Bahamian employee as well as 2 foreign nationals. At the scene of that industrial accident, Assistant Superintendent of Police Stephen Roll said the bodies were retrieved by another worker just after 4 p.m.
The 3 males were doing some work in the floating tank at this location here where we are. And during such time, they all became unresponsive. An employee from an adjacent property came over to assist with the removal of the 3 lifeless bodies. EMS were called to the scene and pronounced the 3 male lifeless.
Police are still working to determine the exact cause of those deaths.
And the talks must be done to determine the exact cause of their death. So at this time, the police are still investigating this matter, and once we have more information, we'll come back to you guys. At this time, I can't give you the ID of the 3 males until an official ID has been done. My initial information, one is said to be a Bahamian national, a Dominican national, and an American national.
The owners of city services say they are assisting police with that investigation. In other news, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis is set to detail his government's plan for beating back this latest disturbing wave of COVID infections when he speaks to the nation tonight at 8. He's expected to address care for those hospitalized, procurement of more COVID vaccines, and possibly additional COVID restrictions. In anticipation, Opposition Chairman Senator Fred Mitchell is calling on the Prime Minister to finally present a meaningful action plan for saving lives, as he again accused Dr. Minnis of putting politics ahead of people. COVID-related deaths jumped by 1 on Monday, that of a 42-year-old man from New Providence who died Independence Day. Total fatalities due to the virus now number 285, with 39 deaths confirmed just this month. There were also an additional 75 COVID-19 cases recorded Monday, including 8 on Exuma, 7 on Eleuthera, 12 on Grand Bahama, and 42 on New Providence. There have been more than 1,500 new COVID infections just this month. COVID hospitalizations are also climbing, and it's putting even more strain on a healthcare system that was already beleaguered due to a shortage of qualified critical care nurses. Now, Doctors Hospital, which is currently caring for 21 COVID patients, is feeling the shared burden of the current surge. Christina Dragovich of Our News has more.
As 15 beds could become available to COVID patients at Doctors Hospital West. However, Doctors Hospital CEO and President Dr. Charles Digges says they just don't have the manpower.
Even in offering those beds to the government, PMH,
the reality on both sides, private and public sector, is you want to have the nurses who are themselves available, willing, and qualified to handle ventilated patients and unstable patients.
Doctors Hospital has a capacity of 10 beds for COVID patients at its main facility with 3 to 5 ventilated patients. At the Blake Road facility, it can currently accommodate 18 patients with 5 to 6 ventilated patients. Do we have enough Bahamian nurses or people in the Bahamian healthcare system who are trained to work with ventilators in this pandemic?
No. No, we do not have currently the numbers of nurses and other human resource requirements that are being required to safely handle the surge in COVID. But again, I echo really importantly, to also continue to manage the ongoing and even increasing non-COVID issues.
To bridge the gap, Dr. Digges says they are looking at creative solutions to ramp up critical care training for nurses,
so that they are able to provide appropriate and safe care with the oversight of trained critical care nurses. We were at the brink, as perhaps was PMH, and sometimes threatened to be overwhelmed by this burden.
The Bahamas saw more than 600 new COVID-19 cases in the past 7 days.
That's Christina Dragovich reporting. Well, even as climbing COVID deaths, hospitalizations, and new infections force government to tighten COVID restrictions on some islands, Minister for Health Renward Wells says government still is not certain whether it will extend that state of emergency due to expire next month. Jasmine Brown has that.
Wells says the fact of the matter is the situation is fluid, and it has prompted the Minutes administration to think about whether it should or should not end that state of emergency.
This is not a static situation, it's a very dynamic situation. And in dynamic situations, that means decisions are made as we go along based on the initial conditions, the circumstances that we find ourselves in. So as we approach August 13th, the government will assess, reassess, look at our where we are, where we want to go economically, where we want to go nationally in our social sphere and the mental health of the Bahamian people. How do we see ourselves from a legal standpoint being able to move forward and still have rules, regulations that keep our people safe.
Wells, Attorney General Carl Bethel, and Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis had stated in recent weeks that the government would not extend the state of emergency on August 13th when it expires. However, Wells sang a slightly different tune outside Cabinet on Tuesday.
There is no decision, and I'm sure that the Prime Minister, well, I don't know whether he's going to speak specifically to that tomorrow night, but I think the Bahamian people ought to, as they always do, they wait for the Prime Minister to speak on issues, and but we have not made any decision. I mean, today's Cabinet, perhaps that those issues will come up, and we'll be able to inform and update the Bahamian people.
The state of emergency allows Minnis to implement a number of COVID mitigation measures, including curfews, lockdowns, the closure of certain businesses, social distancing, and mask wearing. On Friday, at a Ministry of Health press conference, Wells announced a number of new restrictions given the soaring COVID cases, hospitalizations, and deaths in the Bahamas. When asked on Friday whether health officials support the end of the state of emergency next month, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Pearl McMillan said the Emergency Operations Center would make an appropriate recommendation should it be tasked with that consideration. Wells says whatever decision is made will be in the best interest of the country.
We're assessing our national circumstance, and we're not going to do anything that is not going to continue to hold on to the benefits and gains that we have achieved in this country in our response to COVID as an administration.
Meantime, the AG has said that his office was preparing a bill to replace the state of emergency and still allow a legal framework to enforce a number of measures. However, there have been no recent updates on that legislation.
Reporting for Guardian News Network, I'm Jasmine Brown.
The government has now approved the payment of some $1,040,000 in honorarium and death benefits to a limited number of frontline nurses, doctors, and medical services workers involved in the pandemic response between March 19th to June of 2020. Minister Wells said those were the workers who at the beginning of the pandemic stepped up and said, "Send me," when others were somewhat tepid and hesitant. An additional $3 million in honorarium has been budgeted to compensate healthcare workers who later joined the fight. The ministry explained in a statement that the proposed list of approved honorarium recipients had to be carefully scrutinized and recalculations made based on the proposed names for consideration and verification, a process which they said caused delays. But now we're told the ministry is hoping to complete those payouts by the end of this month, with those who assisted during the first wave being paid by check on or before the first week of August. Stay with us. There's more news after the break.
At Apex Award Signs and Engraving, the name says it all. The country's trusted name for trophies, plaques, corporate seals, rubber stamps, badges, bumper stickers, traffic and street signs, keychains, t-shirts, interior signs, restaurant menus, and so much more. Apex Award Signs and Engraving, number 128 Mount Royal Avenue in Wilton Street. Open 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and 9 to 1 on Saturdays. Visit the website at apexawardsbahamas.com. Apex Award Signs and Engraving, number 1 in the Bahamas.
Enjoy an elevated mobile experience with BTC, giving you
unlimited talk for the best conversations, unlimited data for all your online fun,
and unlimited roaming to stay connected while overseas.
For just $50 per line.
Unlock unlimited mobile talk, data, and roaming when you sign up for BTC Superfast Fiber Internet with speed starting at 100 megabits per second. Enjoy more great savings and value. Upgrade or sign up today. Visit any BTC store or btcbahamas.com. Conditions apply.
At Master Technicians, we have what your family traditions need, starting with industry-best refrigerators, ranges, and ovens. We also carry Whirlpool washer and dryers, dishwashers and freezers, leading KitchenAid countertop appliances, blenders, microwaves, juicers, kettles, and KitchenAid stand mixers. We even do free delivery in New Providence or to the boat of your choice. Whether you're doing the laundry, creating new memories in the kitchen, or spending family time in front of the television, Master Technicians Limited, keeping family traditions alive for more than 50 years.
When I say Lumpkin, what is it with steel doors? Everybody asking if I got steel doors. I say, really got any? All I get is steel doors. I get 32 and 36-inch doors. I get 6-panel and 9-panel. I even get some with sunburst, and I've taken the guesswork out of my customers having to choose right color. All of my steel doors is white. Not only do I have doors, I have the wood and tools for you to hang them. And to sweeten the pot, I sell in all of my Milwaukee tools at 15% off. In answer to your question, I got a ton of doors and a ton of tools, and the tools going for 15% off.
Hot summer days require cool specials. Find them today at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets. Rainbow Spaghetti and Meatballs, 14.8-ounce can, 99 cents. Bumblebee Tuna in Water, 5-ounce size, $1. Robin Hood Flour, 5.5-pound bag, $3.99. Boneless chicken breast, $2.29 per pound. Sweet mangoes, 2 for $3. Working hard every day to keep your prices down. That's Super Value and Quality Supermarkets.
Reggie gone to Sunrise one day and tell Miss Wallace, I need a band for my watch, please. Miss Wallace say, Reginald, do have a seat and we'll be with you in a minute. He say, well, you just suffer from this too. She say, suffer from what? He say, this. She say, oh, that. Well, I tries to tailor make my services them to fit the needs of all of my customers. Reggie get excited. He say, that's amazing. I get a couple of more watches. I can bring them to you to more. She say, more. He say, yeah. She say, Reggie, I'll be here from 9 o'clock in the morning.
Sun Isles Watch and Clock, number 112 Montrose Avenue. Watch and clock sales and repairs for over 40 years.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. It's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
Let this week's specials put a smile back on your face at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets. Rainbow Evaporated Milk, large can, 89 cents. Campbell's Chunky Soups, 19-ounce size, $2.39. Super Value Alkaline Water, 1 gallon, $1.69. Premium boneless strip steaks, $8.99 per pound. Fresh limes, 4 for $1. Working hard every day to keep your prices down. That's Super Value and Quality Supermarkets.
Welcome back. Wedding planners are now scrambling to adjust after tightened COVID restrictions were placed on weddings. Jillian Gray has that.
The fairy tale dream of brides walking down the aisle surrounded by their loved ones is slowly becoming a shattered reality, according to wedding planners who say they've now had to go into damage control because of the new restrictive measures.
Every girl dreams about a wedding day for many, many years. And so when situations like this happen, it's kind of disappointing, but we all understand what the government is trying to do.
First things first, everything is now all set on damage control. We are having the conversations. We're in steady communication with our clients. Above all, we just understand, especially from the last year, we have to adapt.
According to the new restrictions, weddings can only be held with a maximum of 30 guests, with the reception only allowed outdoors. That news comes just 1 week before Creme de la Creme CEO Andrew Forbes had 2 major events scheduled.
One of those events are on Saturday coming. One is on Sunday. And so when an announcement like this comes out the week before an event, where you have persons who are flying in from out of town, it definitely puts a couple in a panic.
It's a similar situation for wedding planner Tamara Delaney.
Not only are the brides and grooms having to now cut their guests, these are loved ones and family and friends wanting to celebrate this once-in-a-lifetime moment. But now we have to think about vendors, and now we have to think about amenities and properties and venues. So all of these things, we've had to now just directly get into discussion, make it work some way, somehow.
Funerals face heavy restrictions as well, like no more than 30 people at a burial, no indoor funerals, and no repasts.
We are concerned because our clients are being highly impacted by the measures. We understand the measures being taken by the government are in the best interest of this country. But at the same time, because we have not been consulted as professional caregivers as to the best way to have funeral service conducted, we are a bit annoyed.
The head of the Funeral Directors Association fears these measures could add to strain on the already overcome morgue as families wait for restrictions to be relaxed again.
That is highly likely that families will be in a holding pattern as to wait and see as to what's going to happen based on weekend funerals and also the restrictions for graveside services.
He says they are doing what they can to help alleviate the backlog. For the Guardian News Network, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, that's going to do it for local news. Stay with us. AP News is next.
Summer is here, and Shell presents a summer of fun. Win $30,000 in prizes when you spend $20 in fuel at any Shell location, now through September 10th. Experience incredible hotel stays in the Family Islands and Nassau. Win thousands of dollars in fuel, groceries, and electronic devices. Fuel up today and submit your receipts by WhatsApp, email, and Facebook. Follow us on Facebook for more chances to win with Shell. Terms and conditions apply.
Do you own an Android TV box or Fire Stick? Visit AndroidTV242.com or call 361-8604. We can reprogram your device, allowing you to enjoy over 1,500 stable HD TV channels. Watch all pay-per-view fights, wrestling, NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, and soccer games. Android TV 242 replaces cable TV, satellite, Flow TV, and Netflix. Enjoy unlimited theater and DVD movies and pretty much any movie or TV show ever created. Visit AndroidTV242.com or call 361-8604. We're open Monday to Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
When does a simple meal become exceptional? You guessed it, when it's made the Fresh Market way. We're talking exquisite cuts of fresh meat, succulent fresh seafood options, the best in fresh produce, and who can forget our exotic spices and herbs? Come on, get ready to shake up your taste buds and let our aisles inspire your inner food genius. Homemade salted caramel ice cream, egg noodle stir fry, time to walk and roll. slow smoked beef ribs. Oh, baby! Remember, go fresh and craft delicious with Fresh Market.
How the exercise going?
Not too good.
What happened?
Well, you know Mr. Junior make me one treadmill.
Make?
You know how he like tinker. Anyhow, he built this treadmill and he hook it up to one of them clothesline, which you could spin. You know the kind what I mean?
You mean the one would look like the upside down umbrella?
That's the one. He figure that since I was working out, I just power up one of them clothesline, so he hook it up direct to the treadmill.
Oh, so whilst you're walking, clothes spinning. Makes sense to me.
Makes sense to you, eh? You know how heavy wet clothes is? But anyhow, I right there struggling to get the treadmill going. Slow. She start to go now. The treadmill going and the clothes spinning. This time now I building up speed. I running now. I running. The clothes spinning fast now.
You're flying now.
Yes, and so was the clothes. You would have thought he had enough sense to screw the thing down, eh?
The clothes going?
I see where they land yet.
So what you gonna do?
Go back to Superwash where I should have gone in the first beginning.
Superwash. They washes your presses and cleans you 24/7.
Give me my pizza right away. Gotta move quick, no time to wait. No long lines inside the place. Little Caesars, I love the taste. Hot and ready. Just come now, you don't have to call, now you don't have to wait. Hot and ready. Large pepperoni, $7.99 every day. Hot and ready. Oh, yeah. Straight out the oven and freshly made. Hot and ready. Little Caesars is hot and ready. Little Caesars is. Get yours now at Oaksfield, Carmichael Road, and now East Street South, Pineapple Plaza. Pizza.
Everything is changing, and your favorite hardware and home improvement store is getting with the program. We Buy You Sell is rolling out its new online shopping feature. If you go to our website, wbusbahamas.com, it's a quick and easy 3-step process. Step 1, browse the gallery and select your item. Step 2, add to cart. And step 3, check out. Go to our website, wbusbahamas.com, to shop with us today.
Fast, reliable, and resilient, undeniably the best. The Cable Bahamas group of companies. We keep our customers informed and connected, especially in times of crisis. We believe in Bahamians. They build, own, and manage our world-class network. We invest in our people and our network to guarantee superior technology, superior service. We care about our employees, customers, and country. That's who we are. Thank you for letting our family keep you connected to yours.
This traffic.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969, or we'll give you the numbers to call in just a bit. You can text us 422-4796. And now at 8:22, it's time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. Here's what's happening. We've got troughing near the extreme northwestern islands that will trigger some pockets of showers and thunderstorms over portions of the northwest and central Bahamas through tonight. High pressure ridging will maintain moderate to locally fresh winds as well. The public being advised to remain hydrated and limit outdoor activities and sun exposure due to very high heat indices expected today. For all areas, look for variably cloudy, hot, and humid conditions with a few isolated showers and the chance of isolated thunderstorms through tonight. Breezy conditions in the southeast Bahamas. Small craft caution in effect for the southeastern islands. High temperatures today getting up to around 94 Fahrenheit, 34 Celsius. The heat index will be a major factor, make it feel like 107 Fahrenheit, 42 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 77 Fahrenheit, 25 Celsius. In your extended outlook Weak pressure patterns will meander and persist across the country through Friday. So for tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, hot and breezy, mainly in the central and southeastern islands. Isolated showers and the chance of isolated thunderstorms in the extreme northwest Bahamas. Friday, pretty much the same. Partly cloudy, hot, breezy, mainly in the central and southeast Bahamas. Isolated showers and the chance of thunderstorms in the extreme northwestern islands. The tropics are quiet. Tropical cyclone formation not expected through the next 5 days. That's your morning blend weather check, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. What's first for you comes first for us. And another check of traffic brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. Here's what's happening. We've got Smile Butler Highway as usual. Heavy traffic, northbound lanes heading towards Tawny Williams Darling Highway. Blue Hill Road also busy this morning from south of Carmichael in the northbound lanes up to Independence Drive, especially north of Soldier Road. And on in Tawny Williams Darling Highway, west of that roundabout with Blue Hill and Independence, you'll be seeing some traffic there. It might be an issue for you there in the westbound lane, so keep that in mind. Gladstone Road also busy this morning northbound to JFK Drive. And then we've got pockets at the major intersections on in the rest of the island, so keep that in mind as you make your way out and about this morning. Good luck on your commute. That's your real-time traffic and your morning blend traffic alert brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined. And we are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strong along with Chester Robards. And we are, as promised, talking about your health this morning. And we're having a fascinating discussion off air already with urologist Dr. Gregory Pinto, who's in studio with us. And we're going to be talking about the link between testosterone and obesity and COVID and erectile dysfunction and infertility. A lot to get to this morning. And it's always a pleasure to have Dr. Pinto with us. Good morning, sir. Great to have you with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here. Dwight, Chester, good morning to the nation.
All right, so we're going to get into those issues, but before we do, we were talking about this off air. We see the big headline in today's Nassau Guardian: Doctors Hospital in crisis mode, nearing capacity to house and ventilate COVID patients. Just a week ago, Princess Margaret Hospital declared the same thing. This is scary. I was telling both of you off air that at this point in the last 2 to 3 weeks, the number of people I know personally who've contracted COVID, this is the greatest number since at any point during the pandemic. Not last year when we were really freaking out about this. It seems like we are in a place we've never been before. Is that just what I'm seeing, or is that what is the reality?
Well, as you can see from the headline, Dr. Diaz has elucidated that Doctors Hospital is basically in crisis. It's been crippled long ago. Princess Margaret Hospital, the public health care system, has been on its knees from COVID-19. So this is the worst it's ever been by far.
My goodness.
We're overwhelmed. We're running out of beds. There are no ICU beds available. Eventually we're going to run out of ventilators. We'll look at the indirect effect of where are persons who are going to have non-COVID related emergencies going to go. There's nowhere to house them. There's an issue with shortages of nursing and physicians. The emergency rooms are overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're basically housing persons waiting for a bed, and there are no beds that exist. There's no elective surgery at either hospital at this point. There are no elective clinics at Princess Margaret Hospital. We're really in a dire straits, and it's just getting worse. So I don't think that persons are aware. They're living their life as if things are normal. Right. You still have to social distance. You still have to be wearing a mask. I know we have issues with terms of availability of vaccine, but if you can get it, you need to get a vaccine. The best vaccine to get is the one that's most readily available. It will reduce your chance of being admitted to hospital with severe COVID-19 symptoms or prevent you from dying with almost 100% certainty. So if you look at the numbers that that are overwhelming both hospitals in terms of persons admitted with severe COVID-19 symptoms. I would say across the board, there's no one that I'm aware of actually has been fully vaccinated. Right. If you look at the number of persons who might have had one jab, it's only in a handful. 95% to 98% of persons have had no vaccination at all. I've heard from colleagues who are more on the front line. These are persons who are in their 20s and 30s gasping for air. And at that point, please give me the vaccine, please give me the vaccine. And for months, they have these outlandish conspiracy theories that, no one's going to get me, I'm not going to take the vaccine. And they're begging for it at that moment when it's too late. Mm-hmm. So we need to realize that the only way we're going to get out of this crisis is that we have to get the vaccine. We still have to socially distance. We have to avoid being in crowded areas indoors. We have to wear a mask. Men in particular are being hit worldwide with COVID-19 at a higher rate than women, by far. It's related to many issues. I'll speak about the issue of testosterone. But about 70% of men who are dying worldwide are actually from COVID. Persons who died from COVID are men.
Right.
And men are the first ones who will say they're not going to take the vaccines. And they're the most vulnerable group.
I asked you off air if you get a chance to listen to the talk shows, and you say you do. So you do hear the people who say the media is blowing this out of proportion, that this is some agenda that we've got to stop, and they're criticizing us for calling for people to be vaccinated. What do you say to those? They're listening right now, like, whatever.
I think
get over it.
It's reached a point of such, the crisis has reached a magnitude where this is a small country. I think everybody knows someone who has COVID now. Just in their own personal experience, they see more persons that they know, whether it's their family, their friends, their colleagues, their church members who have COVID. And then so many people are having family members that maybe not going to emergency room or the hospital for COVID, but if they have issues with possible stroke, uncontrolled diabetes, issues with chest pain, issues with deep vein thrombosis, asthmatic attack, they're being turned away because the emergency room is overwhelmed. It's basically housing COVID persons because there's no bed to admit them to. So we have to look at the toll in terms of the number of morbidities, mortalities related to the COVID disease itself, and then related to the fact that we can't deliver health care to persons who have non-COVID related emergencies. Persons who need cancer surgery. We would love to do it, but even if we can get them to the operating theater, where are they going to be post-op? Where are we going to work them up pre-op? There are no beds. Mm-hmm. So we're in a dire straits. We need to recognize that there's no time for this outlandish, crazy, social media-driven conspiracies related to the COVID vaccine. This is not a political thing. It's related to our own survival as a nation, economically, and it might be not you that are going to lose your life, but it might be your grandmother, it might be your father, it might be your uncle. Just because you might be healthy, you might not have multiple comorbidities. Maybe you will have mild symptoms or asymptomatic from COVID. You can take it home to someone who's not going to be in that position, and they're going to have severe symptoms. They're going to need a ventilator. There's eventually not going to be a ventilator for them. Just because you have insurance or you have the means, we can't even airlift people to Florida because most of Florida doesn't even have ICU beds to accept patients. If you look at what is the highest daily rate of COVID positive persons, Florida by far has the highest rate than any other state.
Right.
Delta variant is rampant in Florida. So don't think, okay, if something happens to me, I'll just fly out in an air ambulance. There's nowhere for you to go. There's nothing for us to do here. It's really reaching a breaking point. So we need to if you can get a vaccine, you need to get a vaccine. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. Obviously, you don't want to go in large crowds. You want to socially distance, 6 feet apart. You want to wear a mask. You want to have proper hygiene. So, and if you have any comorbidities, if you have diabetes, if you have hypertension, if you have heart disease, you need to take your medication because you don't want to become a crisis where you need to be admitted because you're in a hypertensive crisis or your diabetes is out of control or it's led to some infection that requires hospitalization, and there's nowhere for you to go. So please be diligent in terms of looking out for yourself, in terms of being diligent in terms of how you manage your life and how you manage your diseases that you have. And we need to get the vaccine. There's no time for this whole ridiculous conspiracy theories. Our nation it's on its knees because of this COVID-19 virus.
Wow. Well, that is sobering. That is,
and I mean, my motivation is the men who are the most notorious for refusing to get the vaccine, notorious to not wear the mask, refuse to socially distance. If you have COVID-19, your chances of getting erectile dysfunction is almost 6 times greater than if you don't. Even, I'm not talking about an acute phase where you are going through the disease and you recover. I'm talking about irreversible. Colleagues throughout the world, we look at urology conferences, congresses, and journals that are published every week, every month. Overwhelming evidence is that erectile dysfunction, and it's not a surprise, leads to COVID-19 leads to erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
They're linked. So the same things that we'd say, okay, if you have comorbidities, erectile dysfunction is highly reliant on pressurized blood flow. That is reliant on blood that starts in the heart and it then pulses through the larger arteries and then goes to the smaller blood vessel that supply your male member. So conditions such as diabetes, chronic renal failure, hypertension, high cholesterol, atherosclerosis, smoking, these cause damage to the lining of these small blood vessels. Guess what else causes damage to the small lining of these blood vessels? COVID-19. So if you're already predisposed to get erectile dysfunction, you're on the cusp of getting erectile dysfunction, or you may have a mild form. COVID-19 is just going to push you over the edge. And in many cases, it's going to be irreversible.
Yeah.
So,
are you seeing this already in your
all
practice?
the times. Obviously, confidentiality is the cornerstone of my practice. So just in generality, I'll speak about it. 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, even persons in the late teens, all of a sudden, they're not getting morning erections. They're having problems maintaining and achieving erection.
And these are people
who've had COVID. And these are people who've recovered 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 9 months ago. And they can pinpoint when this happened. At the time, they got COVID, and just afterwards, everything went south.
Now, you were on before talking about this. With the theory was maybe the fever, the high fevers that we see. Could that be part of it as well, or?
I mean, it's a lot more complicated than that. So as I said, we look at the blood supply. So to get a good erection, you need blood supply, nerve supply. Talk about male hormone testosterone. You can never underestimate the emotional, psychological component. That in itself, obviously, the stress of this whole COVID-19 pandemic, the fact that you have financial stress, you don't know how you're going to pay your rent, your mortgage, your car payments, you're out of work, you have extended family all of a sudden living with you, that's going to affect your erections as well. But if you look just physiologically, there are at least 6 different ways that the coronavirus, novel coronavirus, can affect your erections. First, direct damage to the protective lining of the blood vessels. That leads due to the massive inflammation of the actual COVID-19 virus. You have formation of blood clots that clog critical small arteries. So they're going to clog small arteries before they clog the larger arteries. And these are the small arteries that supply your male member. So that's why before you're going to get a possible stroke or a heart attack where the large blood vessels that supply your heart or your brain are going to be affected, conditions like atherosclerosis or diabetes are going to affect the smaller blood vessels first. These are exactly the same small blood vessels that supply your male members. So in many ways, erectile dysfunction is an early warning sign of something more sinister going on. So if we can address, and I've always said this, is extremely important, it's imperative that we treat the root cause of erectile dysfunction. We don't just treat the symptoms. We don't just blindly give you Viagra or Cialis if it's atherosclerosis causing it, if it's related to hypercholesterolemia or diabetes or obesity or low testosterone. We treat the root cause, because even the blue pill eventually is going to stop working. And that's where I see most of my patients. Oh, I've been taking my cousin's blue pill, or I've been taking a Chinese lozenge or some unregulated pill from the pharmacy. And it worked for 2 years, for 3 years. All of a sudden, nothing's working for me.
Right.
And then if you look, all of a sudden they have some renal dysfunction. You can see that their blood pressure is sky high. They're either a diabetic and don't take their meds, or undiagnosed diabetic. They're obese, all of that these are the same high-risk individuals who are going to have very poor outcomes or are going to be hospitalized for COVID-19 as well. And there is overwhelming evidence. We just look at the European Association of Urology. There was a big annual Congress meeting in July, and there was some evidence that was presented that looked at using the randomized control studies that men who were admitted to hospital have a medium lower testosterone than men who were not admitted, talking about in terms of COVID-19. 90% of men admitted to hospital with severe COVID-19 symptoms had low testosterone. 90%. When we compare the medium testosterone for those admitted to hospital that required intubation in ICU, the level of testosterone is much lower for those who require intubation in low testosterone.
Is it because of, or that's what led to the?
Well, we look at it's
led to COVID.
There are multiple factors related. First of all, testosterone is a natural suppressant for a hyperinflammatory response. So when you look at COVID-19, you have to understand what's happening at the cellular level. So you have this novel virus that the body's never seen before. So all of a sudden, your immune response is going to be non-specific. You're going to have a hyper-inflammatory response as well. You have used this term called cytokine storm. So your body is viciously and non-selectively and non-specifically trying to attack this virus who's trying to invade on the cellular level to replicate and spread. When you have low testosterone is actually, in layman's terms, dampens or it lessens the hyperinflammatory response. If you have low testosterone, that hyperinflammatory response goes on unchecked. So not only that, if you have low testosterone, it's linked to insulin resistance. It's related to other conditions. So it's one medical condition is related strongly to other conditions, as we just mentioned, obesity. It's related to hypertension. It's related to chronic alcohol dependence. We have high rate of alcohol dependence in this country. It's related to HIV. So it's related to atherosclerosis. So all of the conditions that predispose us to having worse outcomes from COVID-19 are the same ones that can lead you to have low testosterone. Low testosterone itself is also one of the comorbidities that can lead to have a worse outcome for COVID-19. And not only that, low testosterone is very important for men in trying to hamper or dampen the hyperinflammatory response. So it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle.
All right, I want to get to obesity in a bit, but the text messages. Oh boy. Okay, here's one. 6 times more likely to lead to erectile dysfunction. I don't believe that.
Well, it's actually the data says 5.66%.
Well, they're going to
5.66 times higher. Yes.
Well, they're going to say, when did this study take place? They don't even know what the vaccine will do to us over time. Using these scare tactics, I have a choice. I choose not to. Leave us alone. That's a text.
Obviously, there are going to be those who, no matter what you say, whatever the evidence is, whatever they see in front of them, they're not going to take the vaccine. So they're at their own risk. Unfortunately, they're not the ones who are going to end up trying to get into hospital and there are no beds. And if they do, that's their own fault, but they're going to infect other people.
Yeah.
They're going to infect their neighbor. They're going to infect their coworker. They're going to affect their family members. So you have to look at it. It's not just you. You have to look at the ones that you love. So you might go out and bring back the virus to your loved ones, including your children. There's a upsurge in children who have issues where they have mental brain fog, they have respiratory issues, long after they've recovered from COVID-19. So don't think children are immune from having severe
we had a baby die a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Don't think that children, and just because you had COVID-19 doesn't mean that you're immune from getting it again.
Right.
I've seen personally patients who've had COVID-19 for 6, 7, 8 months straight. I've had patients who've had COVID-19 3 times in the last year. They're the highest risk group. So yes, they're going to be predisposed. Don't think just because you had COVID-19 once that you have antibodies and that you're going to be immune.
Yeah.
It's a scientifically proven issue that if you have it, it doesn't mean you're immune.
Wow. This texture.
And then we look at it further. Looking at worldwide data, we look at even as close as Florida. Who is being admitted? It's those who are not vaccinated. Locally, essentially every person who's being admitted with severe COVID-19 symptoms have not been vaccinated. you can say a handful who already had multiple comorbidities who are at risk for getting severe COVID-19 symptoms. I might have had one vaccination and waiting on the second. So the data speaks for itself.
Yeah. The same texter has retexted us saying that they are saying that I am gullible for believing all of this and that they've lost respect, or they're losing respect for my intelligence level for sucking up all of this foolishness. Okay, thank you. This other one here, though, why haven't the medical community in the Bahamas, what happened to medical professionals encouraging people to boost their immune system naturally? Pushing an experimental drug and various scare tactics is not the answer. We keep hearing that. People keep saying, we need to just boost our immunity and we'll be fine. Well, what do you say to that, Dr. Pinto?
Well, we look at what are the comorbidities in this country. We're one of the highest rates of obesity, not just in the Caribbean, but in the world. I mean, that's obvious. We have the number of persons who have not just diabetes, but hypertension, high cholesterol, atherosclerosis. I mean, and not only that, when we have a healthcare system where we have a primary care healthcare system that's free with national health insurance, and then we get persons who are being diagnosed with these conditions and they still refuse to take their medication.
Yeah.
So what can you do for them?
Doctors push a healthy lifestyle all the time.
All the time. We're trying to, obviously, you need to get exercise 3 times a week. You need to have a healthy diet. If you're obese, you need to lose weight. We need to treat the root cause. If it's low testosterone, I'm going to speak about, there's a study it's a 15-year study that came out of Italy that looked at a large number of persons. They had 287 persons who were obese versus about the same number who were in the control study that weren't obese, and they found that 90% of those persons had some low testosterone. So there's a strong link between low testosterone and obesity, a strong link in this country with men with obstructive sleep apnea and low testosterone. Low testosterone leads to obstructive sleep apnea. Obstructive sleep apnea makes the low testosterone worse. It predisposes to obesity. It leads to a condition called metabolic syndrome that leads to insulin resistance, that if you did have diabetes or hypertension or high cholesterol, it makes it more difficult to control, or predisposes men who are middle-aged to develop these conditions. So it's a horrible, vicious cycle. So first of all, we need to take a look at the person as a whole. Even if you have cancer, same person has the same stage of cancer, whether male or female, we're looking at someone who has a normal body mass index versus someone who's obese. The person who's obese is going to have a worse outcome. Yeah. So obviously, when we're looking at any disease entity, the healthier you are, the better you're going to do. So obviously, we've been preaching as physicians, the healthcare system, healthy living, boosting your immune system, trying to control any comorbidities such as diabetes or hypertension or atherosclerosis. Take your medication, watch your diet, everything else, get exercise. That's not anything new. Right. We're not saying stop doing that and just take the vaccine. But we need to understand that our healthcare system is crippled. If you're going to look at the front page of Nassau Guardian and say Doctors Hospital is in crisis, so where are these patients going to go? You can't go to Florida. Florida's also in crisis. Yeah. So let's say you don't have COVID, and as I said, you need a hospitalization. Where are you going to go? Yeah. There are no beds in either hospital. This is the greatest crisis probably this nation has ever faced. Yeah. You can talk about conspiracy theory and everything else. What about that reality? Mm-hmm. You cannot ignore that reality. Go look at Princess Margaret Hospital, a long line of patients, even short of breath, that are trying to get in to the hospital, and there are not even any trolleys available.
Yeah. We need to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about obesity. We know that's a huge problem here. Pardon there, but yeah. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
Travel less, but vacation more by indulging yourself and your family with the ultimate staycation getaway at Atlantis. Sleep in, relax, play, go out. Say yes to a fantastic staycation in your very own paradise just over the bridge. For reservations, call 363-6483 or visit Atlantis Local on Facebook for details.
Turn the keys to your own home with CIBC First Caribbean. We'll give you time to relax when you move in by waiving your first 3 monthly mortgage payments and commitment fees. Get up to 95% financing on your mortgage and a pre-approved Visa Gold or Platinum credit card with 5,000 bonus reward points and more. Visit CIBCFCIB.com/realtors-hub to connect with a realtor to make the home search easier. Finance your new home base with CIBC First Caribbean. Terms and conditions apply. Visit CIBCFCIB.com for details.
There's only one way to have a better morning. How? Start your mornings the best way with our 2 for $6 breakfast sandwiches at Wendy's. For a limited time, choose any 2 of your favorite breakfast sandwiches, including the fresh Strachan sack muffin, honey buttermilk chicken biscuit, double sausage muffin, or the sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. Wash it all down with our cold brew shake or coffee. Better mornings always start at Wendy's. Wendy's, different inside and out. Excludes airport locations.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAO, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAO, growing wealth for future generations.
Be prepared for the rainy season with an RBC loan to fund your rainy season essentials. For hurricane shutters, generators, solar power systems, or general home repair, RBC offers a range of flexible and competitive financing solutions. Let us help you get started at rbc.com/Caribbean/get-a-loan. Special conditions apply. Reimagine your rainy season readiness with RBC financing.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards. We are talking with Dr. Gregory Pinto, talking about COVID and testosterone and obesity and erectile dysfunction. Before we get to obesity, I want to ask you, I know we talked about this off air, but we're seeing lots of ads, especially late at night, for products with testosterone in it, low T. We've got ex-football stars hawking it all day long, it seems. So are those effective? Can you use those, or do you really need to see a urologist if you're going to boost your testosterone levels?
Well, first of all, testosterone is not the fountain of youth. So just indiscriminately giving men testosterone in itself can be dangerous. There are side effects to testosterone. There are different ways that you can give the testosterone. First, you have to differentiate the cause, hypogonadism, that's low testosterone. Is it a primary cause or a secondary cause? I don't need to get in, that's a long conversation itself. So just blindly giving someone testosterone, unless you determine the cause of it, in itself can be dangerous. You have to look at the root causes. Same with erectile dysfunction. If you have low testosterone, why do you have low testosterone? Is it related to something very commonly in this country, obstructive sleep apnea? When you're supposed to be replenishing the testosterone that you use throughout the day during REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, when you have obstructive sleep apnea, you have disrupted REM sleep, so your testosterone precipitously will always have a downward trend, even if you give testosterone. So you're fighting a losing battle. If you give testosterone without treating obstructive sleep apnea, that in itself can make obstructive sleep apnea worse. Obstructive sleep apnea makes low testosterone even worse. Low testosterone makes obstructive sleep apnea even worse. It's a vicious cycle. You put in with that obesity in the strong correlation with low testosterone, insulin resistance leading to diabetes and male metabolic syndrome. So yeah, it's not as simple as, all right, order something over the internet or go to the health food store and just getting. Many of those things they're take at your own risk. They're going to be minimally effective. But first of all, if you do have symptomatic, just because you have low testosterone, there at least every man as he gets older, to some degree, is going to have some issue of low testosterone. You only treat those who are symptomatic. And that's going to be a smaller subgroup. That might be anywhere from 6% to 12%. The older you are, the higher the numbers. And this is mainly an issue with older men as they get older, entering middle age. At 40 years old, you lose your testosterone at least 2% per year. Some people start at a lower level than others. If you have other conditions like chronic alcohol dependence, if you have issues like obstructive sleep apnea, for example, if you have metabolic syndrome, those things can also hasten your fall in testosterone. So if you have prostate cancer, 1 in 6 men in this country are going to get prostate cancer in their lifetime. We have all the risk factors for prostate cancer. First is African ancestry. There's a genetic issue as well. It's related to the BRCA gene, breast cancer-related gene mutations, which we have a very high incidence in this country as well. You can see that in relation to the high incidence of breast cancer, not just in women, but also in men. Pancreatic cancer and other cancers related to the BRCA gene, either 1 or 2 mutation. If you have prostate cancer and it's clinically insignificant or undiagnosed, giving testosterone is going to hasten and progress and allow that prostate cancer to proliferate. So you can go from having a very curable stage of prostate cancer to advanced stage of prostate cancer by giving the same high-risk individuals as they get older for getting prostate cancer, blindly giving them testosterone. So before you give anyone testosterone, first of all, you need to see that what is the type? Is it primary or secondary? What is the root cause? Let's treat the root cause. Do you have obstructive sleep apnea? If you do, that's causing it or contributing it to you having low testosterone. Let's treat the obstructive sleep apnea. Let's completely rule out the chance that you have prostate cancer. Testosterone doesn't cause prostate cancer. Just in terms of common sense, you're going to have your highest levels of testosterone when you're in your 20s. That's when you have your lowest incidence or prostate cancer is unheard of. But if you do have early prostate cancer or any amount of prostate cancer requires testosterone to proliferate, to spread. And that's why when we have metastatic advanced prostate cancer patients, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to give an androgen blockade. We're going to give you hormonal deprivation, and we're going to starve the prostate cancer of testosterone. So the worst thing you want to do is someone unknowingly has prostate cancer, and you're going to basically fuel and proliferate and allow that prostate cancer to progress. So yes, you need to see a physician, whether it's a urologist or other, to rule out, to diagnose, and then treat appropriately.
Wow. All right. So with obesity, we have a texter who every week keeps asking us if we know whether the people who have COVID in the country or are dying from COVID are obese or have obesity. And I don't know what to tell them, but is there a link between obesity and COVID? And do your chances, or do they get much worse if you are obese and you're battling COVID?
Yes. So as I mentioned, any disease entity, if you're obese, you're going to have a worse prognosis. That's one of the comorbidities amongst many that are going to give you a worse prognosis. So we always look at why is this individual at the same age end up on an intubator or succumbs to COVID-19, and another person basically has a sniffle or a headache for a couple of days. And it's related to the multiple comorbidities. As I mentioned, low testosterone is one, and low testosterone is related to obesity. So the simple answer is yes. If you're obese, you should be the first one on the line to get the vaccine. If you have diabetes or hypertension or atherosclerosis, you should be the first one on the line to get the vaccine, because you're going to be in that subset that's going to have the worst prognosis, who's going to need hospitalization if you get COVID at a greater rate than someone who doesn't have these comorbidities. Mm-hmm. And there's the issue of beds not being available. There's the issue of ventilators are sooner not going to be available. You need to address that. So there have been studies. In fact, there's a study that looked at 15 years of data that was presented at the European International Congress on Obesity, and it basically found that 70% of men who are obese, and I'm just speaking loosely because you can look at body mass index in terms of if you're actually overweight. Not just because you have a few extra pounds doesn't mean you're technically under the term obese.
Right.
You can be overweight, you can be obese, you could be morbidly obese. But let's just talk about overweight/obesity. 70% of persons who are obese are found to have, men, we're talking about men, have low testosterone. And that leads to insulin resistance that can lead to you having onset of diabetes or making your diabetes more difficult to control. And they looked at these studies of men who are obese or morbidly obese with a control group. And this is a long-term study with a large number of participants. It's a well-documented, well-structured study. And there have been many studies that replicated the same. And they've looked at men who are symptomatic for low testosterone, who are obese or morbidly obese, and the average amount of weight that these persons lost was 50 pounds. Mm-hmm. For the control group, who were obese, who were on placebos, they gained an average of 15 pounds. Mm-hmm. So it can be life-changing if we determine that you have low testosterone, determine if you're primary or secondary, and that we can safely give you testosterone supplementation. You can change your life around. You can lose that 20 pounds, 25 pounds. As I said, it's not the fountain of youth. You don't give it blindly. It could be dangerous. If you have other conditions that can be exacerbated or worsened, worst of all is prostate cancer as a urologist. But if you are obese, you can have all these fad diets. You can have liquid diets. You're going to possibly lose the weight. You're going to many times put it back in more. Let's address the issue of why you're obese, and then in many cases it's related to low testosterone. Mm-hmm. As many as 70% of men who are obese or morbidly obese have low testosterone.
Wow. Yeah. I also want to ask you, when you talk about erectile dysfunction, could it be more than one dysfunction, or is the dysfunction we're talking about erections?
So when we talk about erectile dysfunction, then the most common form of erectile dysfunction is actually premature ejaculation. 1 in 3 men, talking about young, middle-aged, and older gentlemen, have premature ejaculation. That in itself is erectile dysfunction. But when you talk about what is erectile dysfunction, is inability to maintain or sustain an erection during intercourse. And everyone faces that at some point. As you get older, you have more risk factors for developing it. But by definition, if you, in terms of sexual episodes, more than 25% of the time you have this issue, by definition you have erectile dysfunction. But premature ejaculation is the most common cause of most common form of erectile dysfunction. Mm-hmm. And that can be effectively treated with medication. You can get a man, obviously I don't want to say too much, this is a public show, but you can go from 3 minutes to 15, 18 minutes just on medication. So stop suffering in silence.
Mm-hmm. We barely touched on infertility, but you're finding links with COVID and infertility.
There's no doubt about it. Long-term studies, we've been into this pandemic for a year and a half. You can even extrapolate looking at other viruses, such as something as common as mumps, that's invaded the testicles. Wow. That's going to affect your ability to produce not just testosterone, but sperm. So you look at every sperm parameter in terms of numbers, in terms of morphology, in terms of mobility. All of those can be negatively affected by COVID-19 many months after you've recovered. So yes, if you want motivation to socially distance, wear a mask, hand hygiene, to be responsible because of this COVID-19 pandemic, or even get the vaccine for COVID-19, male infertility should motivate you. Mm-hmm. Erectile dysfunction that's irreversible should motivate you. I think a lot of men, if they knew this a year and a half ago, would be wearing 10 masks.
Mm-hmm. Wow. All right, we have about 30 seconds left, but this text here is a good question. Is the test for testosterone available at your office? And how do you go about getting that? Does insurance cover that?
It's covered. It's available at every lab in the country, and even at the local clinics. So it's a simple tick of a box when you're getting your routine bloods. There's nothing specific that you need to do when you're getting your annual physical. Just an extra tick of the box, you check your free and total testosterone level.
And what's a good number to have?
So it all depends on the individual. It's age related as well, but in also terms of in terms of different governing bodies, but technically, when you talk about nanograms per deciliter, you want anything above lower than 300 with symptoms. So just because you have a low testosterone, you don't have symptoms, you don't need to treat. But let's say anything less than 300, some governing bodies will, or some protocols say anything less than 340. But it's not just what your value is in isolation. Let's say your value was always 1,000 or 1,200. Then all of a sudden you've dropped to 380 in a matter of 6 months. You're going to become very symptomatic.
Yeah.
So you obviously, anytime I see someone for annual physical, even if they don't have any symptoms of low testosterone, I want to get a base value to compare from 1 year to the next.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's good to know. All right. And one more appeal, Dr. Pinto, to people out there, the skeptics. Lots of them are criticizing this interview, talking about us, and what do you say to them in our final 30 seconds here?
Well, this is a crisis. You cannot put your head in the sand and ignore the fact that the healthcare system is on its knees. It's crippled. It's gonna extrapolate into issues with non-COVID related emergencies and just managing comorbidities. The clinics are being closed down. The emergency rooms are overwhelmed. You talk about the fatigue. My hat's off and my greatest respect to the frontline workers, whether they're the nurses or the emergency room physicians and my other colleagues. They're overwhelmed. They've been overwhelmed for months, if not for the last year, and it's just getting worse. And we only have limited resources. We only have limited bed space. We only have limited ICU spaces. They're converting units or areas of the hospital and just trying to make it a COVID unit. That was going into doctor's hospital as well. We're not able to operate with cases that we should be operating on because of this crisis. And this thing, there's no end in sight unless we become more responsible, we wear our masks, we stop crowding indoors without a mask, and we need to get the vaccine.
Yeah. Dr. Gregory Pinto.
So basically, get stuck to keep it up.
Oh.
And this is the hard fact about erectile dysfunction.
Oh, there. Okay, there you go. That's quite a way to end it there. Dr. Pinto, always a pleasure. Hopefully we'll talk again soon. Hopefully when we talk again, things will be a lot better than they are at this point. But thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope people are listening. I hope you are. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Morning Glen Business. Stay with us.
Today, wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of the new way. You know that.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
This is the Guardian News Network update on the hour. Hello, everyone. I'm Charlene Ferguson. Doctors Hospital is now in crisis mode as demand skyrockets for beds to accommodate the growing number of COVID patients in this country. According to data from the Ministry of Health, as of Monday, that hospital was caring for 21 COVID patients. CEO Dr. Charles Diggers told the Nassau Guardian they are really very close to or exceeding capacity and resources. It's expected Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis will reference efforts to treat the growing number of infected when he speaks to the nation tonight. At last check, 93 people are in hospital for COVID, and more than 1,500 persons have tested positive for the virus this month. In other news, City Services Limited has confirmed the 3 workers killed at their site in Freeport yesterday were preparing scrap metal for export when they died. The company, while expressing deep regret over the incident, confirmed the victims included a longtime Bahamian employee and 2 foreign nationals. Police say an autopsy will be needed to determine the exact cause of those deaths. And finally, medical workers on the front line of the pandemic will get promised honorarium payments beginning this month. The Ministry of Health says some $1,040,000 will go to those nurses, doctors, and health support staff who stepped up in the beginning of the pandemic and offered to work when others were hesitant. An additional $3 million has been budgeted to compensate those who later joined the fight. That's what's making headlines at this hour. Stay with us. AP Update is next.
Beulah gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood.
We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too?
Of course we can.
But we could be in deep trouble if they find out.
We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami.
So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles.
Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal.
So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time. This traffic report is brought to you by Shield Insurance and Prudential Loss Adjusters.
Final look at traffic this morning. We can see that a low start to the morning commute today is still underway. Now some of those routes that we're familiar with seeing a higher level of activity normally at this time are just showing even this late after 9 this morning as having heavy traffic flows. Southwest Gateway corridors, of course, are what we're talking about. The only routes with real problems this morning still has traffic stuck and slowly getting out of Claxton Road. Traffic line there still excessively lengthy getting out of Samala Butler Highway. And that seemed earlier was getting a break, but now we see that the line there's actually growing. They're back in the lengthy column. Traffic still backing up there even at this hour. Still got a slow ride getting out onto Carmichael Road. Not as extensively delayed as the other two routes, of course, but delays still on that exit to Blue Hill Road that's happening right now. And then that's being compounded with the challenges of getting over the hill in Blue Hill into that Tony Spillion Darling roundabout below. But that's still the only place that's heavily stacked with traffic, and we see slow movement that's causing congestion and delays on the island. So far, the remainder of the routes has minor slowdown and stop and go traffic going on, which leads me to evaluate that it's been a slow ride for the morning commute this morning, with the exception, of course, of the Southwest Gateways. This National Traffic Report this hour will be brought to you by Dr. Danny Johnson and Associates at Foot and Ankle International, who's offering the simplest and safest treatment for foot injuries, ingrown toenails, corns, heel pain, and more. Visit Foot and Ankle International for relief. They're located at Dean's Lane atop the hill at Fort Charlotte. Call them at 322-5402. That's 322-5402 for more details. With your riding sky look at traffic in real time, I'm VA.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards with you on this Wednesday. And it is time for our twice monthly segment with the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center. And we're always very happy to talk with them. Our friends are back with us. We've got Executive Director Davinia Bain. We've got Director and we've got Chief Operating Officer Nicholas Higgs. And we have from Fidelity, Dominic Ferguson, and our special guest from Central Andros Shipping, Valentino Monroe. We've got a full house on Zoom with us this morning, but everybody, welcome back to you. Great to have you with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Good morning. Good morning, Bahamas.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, wonderful stuff. All right, so let's talk about the partnership with Fidelity. What's happening here? And this has been very exciting over the last few weeks. We've been hearing more and more about it. But what is new, and how will this change things?
I'll start off, Dominic, and then I'll let you come in and talk about it from Fidelity's perspective. But from the Access Accelerator perspective, this is huge for us and for our clients. You would have heard us speak several times before about the guarantee that we've been able to secure via the IDB. So we received an allotment of $25 million from the IDB and $20 million from the World Bank, all to be able to do guarantees for our small businesses. It means is that we have funding, but we need the financial institutions, which obviously the larger of them would be the commercial banks, to step in and actually assume the debt for which we will guarantee with these facilities. So it's very important for us to have a strong partnership with quite a number of the financial institutions in the country. And so if with this particular program, because we had a prior program for which RBC had done quite a bit of the loans there, but this new program with the IDB and the World Bank, Fidelity Bank has been the first commercial bank to step forward, and they have committed to do a sizable amount of loans in the first tranche of this relationship, with a view of, based on how that goes, that can grow even larger. So we're excited. This means this is one step towards one of our ultimate goals. One of the things with small businesses is that you want to make sure graduate them to being bankable. And by bankable, you want them to get in the groove of doing the types of things that commercial banks like to see on a regular basis, such that the next time they go for that big expansion, they will not need to come to the SBDC. They'll be in good relationship, good standing directly with the banks to be able to approach them directly. So we're happy about this relationship. And Dominic, you can go ahead and say your thoughts from Fidelity's point of view.
No.
Oh, definitely, Davinia. We are most happy to be involved with this project. So, like Davinia said, it's about getting that relationship with the banks initially. So Fidelity has no problem, and we are in full support of businesses expanding and their forward-looking approach into the future with their finances, not just now, but long-term. Our goal at Fidelity has always been, we are good for you. And we have done that largely in the consumer market and in the residential market. But now we want to branch to the commercial market and help small businesses actually get their foot into the door where they become bankable, where they can reach out to us. So this is a partnership that we're looking to harvest. We're looking at just cultivating different avenues, different businesses, seeing how we can work together to get them on their feet as well. Because again, we also have the credit bureau coming into play. That's going to have a lot of information. Now is the time when you have a guarantee to actually get into the bank and actually work on that loan and establish some good credit for future business.
Wow. Well, this has been a cry for small businesses for a long time about how hard it is to access that funding from banks and how much easier it is to get a loan for products like a car or something. But for when you have a business idea, how difficult it has been. But let's talk more about this, how the game changer and the opportunities that this could present for small businesses in the country.
In talking about it being a game changer, Dominic, I was leaving you the honor of saying just how much Fidelity has committed in this first tranche. I don't want to steal that thunder from you, so I'll leave that for you. You want to go ahead and make that?
Yeah, definitely. We've committed to at least doing about $5 million, which is a lot when you think about small businesses and getting loans. Previously, it was difficult to get 100,000. Now we've committed to doing about 5 million in the commercial market. So hopefully we're ready. We're looking forward to the time that we're going to be able to invest in this, because again, I think that it's a wonderful, wonderful idea. I think it's a great partnership. I think that we can do amazing things. One thing the pandemic should have taught us is that things change quickly. We need an avenue to look back on, or we need something to fall back on, not just everything being imported or exported. We need to have something that we as Bahamians own and we as Bahamians can stand up at the end of the day.
What does Fidelity's small business portfolio look like now before the SBDC?
Well, the portfolio, let me speak on what we've done now. We've roughly done about $1 million in approvals already. So we're moving that forward. The bank has changed a lot. So we've now focused, again, the pandemic has changed a lot of things. So we've been in the focus of trying to just help and restructure payments now. So we haven't done a lot in the commercial market.
Right.
But now we are up to about $1 million in approvals. So we're well on our way moving forward in this new business venture.
Yeah. Are there any particular types of ventures that will be the focus here? Or will it just be whoever meets the standards in general?
Well, again, we're looking at everything. So we're going to look at everything when you present the business. So some of the things that we look at are the location. Is this a location that has high traffic, low traffic? The demand for the product, is this something new to the market that's innovative and something that you can move forward with? We look at their profit margins. We look how best to bundle products that would help them, if this is something that not just going to stand up for 3 months, but something that you could see down the road. Is it something that the economy needs right now? So we look at a number of different things when we look at the businesses.
And in terms of sectors, I will ask Nicholas, to give you sort of like a summary on this program. So with the IDB and the World Bank, there are certain sectors that we've agreed to support up to 90% and others at 75%. And then we've also increased the amount of money for some clients that we will seek to fund. So Nicholas, if you could give a bit of those details as well, please.
Thank you, Davinia. So we normally guarantee 75%, but now we are actually guaranteeing up to 90% for industries and sectors such as fishing, farming, manufacturing, clean energy. And so these areas are areas that we really want to focus on, technology as well. And so these are areas that we think are critical to the development and the growth and sustainability of the country. And so we're emphasizing those areas. So we're guaranteeing up to 90% for those ventures.
And in some cases, or I guess on a case-by-case basis, we will consider companies that we can actually facilitate up to $1 million in funding rather than our normal limit of $500,000. So there are some game-changing features in this relationship, and the idea is that we're here to help to stimulate not just sort of like a renaissance of our economy, but a true expansion in the right directions, in the right industries, or the industries that we really, really need to see changes in at this point in our evolution.
Yeah. Well, all right. So are there going to be any changes in how people go about seeking to get the funding, especially now that Fidelity is involved? Any new things that people need to keep in mind?
So to answer that question, so the process is still the same as in the new process that we spoke about in the show a few times.
Right.
You still have to go to the website accessaccelerator.org, and please sign up. And through that program, we have numerous routes in which persons can go through now, as we spoke about in the previous shows. The process is much smoother now and much cleaner now to ensure that clients are able to get what they need to get done and the services they need, and to quickly get to the FIs to be analyzed.
Mm-hmm. Tell us more about that. What's changed?
Okay, so originally the process was just pretty much a one-way road through the face-to-face, and then that changed to the online portal. Now when entrepreneurs are trying to get their business plan done, we have 3 models that are available now. One is an entrepreneur can decide to do it online, which is at their own pace. So they'll be trained and write their own plan online via Udemy and Launchplan. That process is in their own pace, and it's no cost associated with that. The second option is with our relationship with BAIC, where the SBDC actually subsidizes the cost, which is $450. We subsidize that for your business plan to be written along with BAIC. And that is usually a faster process as it relates to getting it done because you're having a more interactive experience with an advisor. However, I can say the line is a little longer because that is a preference for entrepreneurs. The third option is our third-party vendor program, where there are so many great businesses that write business plans, do projections, historicals, analyze, do your viability studies. So with those, we want to ensure that we're bringing them into the fold as well. And so with that program, we pay up to $500, and then the entrepreneur will pay the difference. So if your plan is $800, we'll pay $500, and you'll pay $300. If the plan happens to be $500, then the fee is completely covered. And with this program, that is a really great program because it starts to also move monies and time to third-party vendors who are capable of writing these plans. So you have three options of getting your plan done. One is the online portal, which is the second was the BAIC with the BAIC advisor, and third is with third-party business plan writers. And once that process is done and your plan is great and it's good to go, then it will go to our credit committee for review. Once that credit committee approval is done, it then goes to the FI.
Okay. All right. We're going to get back to that in a bit. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to meet our special guest from Central Andros Shipping, Valentina Monroe, another success story with the Access Accelerator, Small Business Development Center. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow, because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
It's so summer with Esso, and that's why we're giving away thousands of dollars in fuel, food, and other fun prizes every week. Simply fuel up at $25 or more. Enter using your receipt, and you could be a winner this summer with Esso. Terms and conditions apply. Visit bettergasmileage.com/its-so-summer or our Facebook page for details. Promotion ends August 29th, 2021. It's fun! Food, fuel, and other great prizes every week. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
Wait, why you look so mashed up like clothes at the washer?
No, but just a hard day. What?
Hard day? What happened? The breakfast lady ran out of tuna and Gretzi.
We need to start joking about everything, you know. This serious, boy. This real serious, boy.
Wait, what's serious? Tell me.
All right, well, today, boss gave us boy one big contract. And nobody else get a chance and nobody say nothing.
Boy, you know that ain't right. You know government contracts ain't supposed to go that way.
Yeah, but nobody's saying nothing. Boss man just tell people to sign the paper. Then he send me to meet his boy downtown and collect this envelope.
You need to tell somebody. You need to become a whistleblower.
You know I's a real man, but I never blow no whistle. I be drunk all my life and junk.
No way. A whistleblower is someone who tells people what they see when they see something wrong happening at work.
But I ain't no whistleblower, and I ain't no snitch. I still white there, you know.
But ain't nobody can know it's you. All you gotta do is call Crime Stoppers, or you could text them from inside the Crack Crime Bahamas app. They don't ask about you. And your call goes straight through to Miami, so nobody know you is. And if you text, your message get mixed up like Kong Salad.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau, or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's time for your morning business report brought to you by CFAL. Nassau's Cruise Port Limited and its berths will be fully booked when its pier extension is completed by December, with Cruise Port executives expecting passenger counts to be in the area of 250,000. That's according to the company's CEO, Mike Mora. He told Guardian Business the redevelopment of Nassau's Cruise Port has now reached a stage where land is being created at the wharf's edge to bring to life the world-class port. It will feature an amphitheater, extensive green space, shops, restaurants, a marina, and a Junkanoo museum. Thousands of cubic yards of sand currently being piped into the area of Prince George Wharf, where ferries and excursion operators once picked up passengers, being repurposed from the dredging operations that are being undertaken to allow the port to accommodate the world's largest cruise ships. The port is making quick progress on the pier extension to the east. That's going to house or allow the port to house 3 Oasis-class ships at one time. According to Mora, that pier extension is 50% complete. You can read more about it in today's Guardian Business section. The government announcing that it has temporarily suspended the enforcement of a nominal Bahamas Customs Department processing fee that was approved in the 2021-2022 budget. It's explaining that some people have already been incorrectly charged, and there needs to be more customer education on the fee, as well as training within Customs Department. The government said in a statement that the new fee would be levied on individuals declaring taxable goods at customs checkpoints as they re-enter the country. It was put in place to support the cost of operations by the Bahamas Customs and Excise Department. According to the statement, the $3.35 fee does not apply to individuals using their customs exemption or filing to declare. The statement says it's only applicable for individuals who declare taxable goods on a C-17 or C-18 form associated with accompanied baggage declarations. Comptroller of Customs Dr. Janine Ma says that the fees that were incorrectly charged are being rectified right now. And the Central Bank of the Bahamas releasing 2 codes of practice for supervised financial institutions in the event of a catastrophic hurricane. The code calls for financial institutions to implement systems for effective communication with clients and for managing staff issues before, during, and after a major natural disaster. The bank's inspector of banks and trust companies, Charles Luttrell, saying the need for the codes of practice arose from the results of the central bank's 2020 hurricane preparedness industry study. You can read more about that as well in today's Guardian Business section. Overseas, in the U.S., the signs and banners dotting along commercial shopping strips all over and hanging in shop windows and restaurants have desperation among America's service industry employers. The signs often saying, now hiring $15 an hour. It's hardly the official federal minimum wage at $7.25. That level hasn't been raised since 2009, but for many lower-skilled workers, $15 an hour has increasingly become a reality. Businesses, particularly in the restaurant, retail, and travel industries, have been offering a $15 wage to try to fill enough jobs to meet surging demand from consumers, millions of whom are now spending freely after a year in lockdown. And many of the unemployed who have been buoyed by stimulus checks and expanded jobless aid feel able to hold out for even higher pay. The change since the pandemic has been swift. For years, and notably in the 2020 presidential race, labor advocates had trumpeted $15 an hour as a wage that would finally allow low-paid workers to afford basic necessities and narrow inequality. It struck many as a long-term goal. Now, many staffing companies say $15 an hour is the level that many U.S. businesses must pay to fill their jobs. Even so, millions of Americans are still earning less than $15 an hour. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office calculates that even by 2025, roughly 17 million workers will remain below that level. Closer to home in your Market Watch, recapping trading on the BISX. From Tuesday, your market movers APD Limited moving 50 shares, closing at $39.95 unchanged. Doctors Hospital moving 400, closing at $7.75 unchanged. BGS 2015 10-7Y moving 50, closing at $100 unchanged. Consolidated Water unchanged at $2.52. Emir Incorporated unchanged at $11.28. The BISX All-Share Index closing at 1,956.33 unchanged. That's your Market Watch, and that is your morning business report brought to you by CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
I could live my life far into yesterday. I'll talk with the great Pompey and Black Dick too. Oh, I'll chat with the Milo Butler and the great C.R. Walker, Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield. I'll say, how do you do, yeah. I'll find Dame Doris Johnson and Sir Randall Fox, L.W. Young and C.C. Sweeting too. Oh, Mr. Timothy Gibson and Clarence Bain, Sir Henry.
We're back here with Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards. We are talking with Javinia Bain and Nicholas Higgs with the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center, Dominic Ferguson with Fidelity, and we're going to meet Valentino Monroe with Central Andros Shipping in just a bit. This question, though, from one of our texters, a good question here. Given that SBDC guarantees the loans, do the banks does the bank offer a lower rate on the loan since there is low or no risk of loss to them? How does that, what do you say that, texter? How does that all work? Does it change anything in that regard at all?
Okay, so that's actually an excellent question. And I actually want to touch a point just before that. Just because the SBDC is guaranteeing the loan, the bank still looks at the client separately. So we still look at the client's credit worthiness and do an assessment. The rate is, however, a lot lower than any other consumer or residential rate. However, banks still based on risk because it's still a start. I like to do what we call it, what one of our executives would call it, who is actively helping us with this program, is a cradle to the grave kind of approach where we are prepared to assist the startups by stirring them, guiding them, and help them cultivate best practices. So again, like everything, we have to assess the risks. So the guarantee is not necessarily means that everything is perfect, the loans are going to run smoothly. The guarantee is a collateral that we appreciate. However, we still do an assessment of the client, and then we determine how we're going to manage the relationship from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. So let's meet Valentino Monroe with Central Andros Shipping. Good morning, sir. Great to have you with us, as we said.
Good morning, Dwight. Great to be here. Thank you.
All right. So tell us about your company. When did it get started? And then we'll talk about the your process with the Access Accelerator. But how long has Central Andros Shipping been around?
Yeah, thank you. Well, we've been around around 2017, right? That's when the company really was first incorporated. We weren't doing business and really haven't been doing business for most of that time because most of it has been planning, research, developing business plans, and then, out to seek financing. And so really, we're hoping to start our full operations within the next 3 months.
Okay. All right. So what is it that you hope to do? Tell us about what the goal is, what the plan is.
Well, the goal is really with the financing we've recently gotten is to acquire critical equipment for our operations. That would be, vessel, loading, unloading equipment, properly set up our offices, and really start to do business and operation, so that we could start to look at our expansions.
Where and how did you understand the need for this company?
Well, really, we're a mail boat operation, right? Just some backstory. My father's been in the business for many, many years. He lost his vessel about 7 years ago, and he recently passed in December. And so prior to him moving on, I had started to plan, for the transition of his operation to take it over. That didn't go as smoothly as planned. We had some challenges, dealing with aging parents and medical challenges. And so really, the hope is to rebuild that enterprise and expand it. And so certainly, there's an incredible market for it in the traditional mail boat operations in the Bahamas. And then we're looking to expand shipping from the U.S. To the Family Islands. I mean, right now in the Bahamas, most of the shipping to the islands really is dominated by American companies. And so I think there's lots of opportunities there, to provide that for Bahamian enterprise to provide U.S. Family Island shipping services.
So that's what you want to build into. For now, you're just going to be in New Providence to Andros route.
Right. For now, that's our start.
Right.
New Providence to Andros. Maybe look at opportunities to service other Family Islands as well.
Okay.
But primarily, the startup route is New Providence to Andros.
All right. So tell us about your journey with the Access Accelerator. How did you realize that this is what you needed and that they would be able to help you? And how did that go?
So I've been in the market for a while, talking to various entities about funding. I hadn't initially looked at the Access Accelerator because I knew, I think at the time their focus was on finance for a little smaller operations. I think in my conversations with someone, that was suggested to take a look at them. And so I did that. And so really I've been working with them probably for more than maybe a year and a half, right? And so it's been, the process hasn't always been smooth. We had a bumpy start, but once we got started, the support from the team there at SPDC has been incredible. The training and exposure, the nurturing through this entire process has been incredible. And so, someone with considerable business experience and even, as a professional experience in the private sector. But, the access really helped me to hone my business plan, challenging the marketability of the product and services we're offering, and really, got it to the level where it's a lot easier for private funding enterprises to consider as a viable option. And so, that's been an excellent experience overall.
Tell us more about that. What type of things did you learn specifically, and we can talk about the funding in a bit. But what types of mentorship did you receive there?
Well, initially, after the registration process, I think by the time I got there, the registration online. Interestingly, I've actually never visited the Access Accelerator office, for the purpose of this funding project. And so everything has always been online, by phone and by email. And that in itself was excellent because, it allowed me to do my daily work while I pursue, this dream. And it also made, that process a lot more efficient, accepting digital documents and sending attachments, filling out and completing forms online was, really impressive from the start. But then we had to do, once I registered, I had to go through a training process. I mean, I probably did at least about 20 or 25 different courses, right? Some of them I didn't think, I needed anyway, from time management, public speaking, setting goals, marketing, social media marketing, leadership, how to be successful. And so a whole host of training programs through, their various online partners. And I think this was just going into the pandemic. And so, that was a good opportunity to really double down on this and work through, that process. And so, I have a special folder on my computer with a bunch of different certificates that I've gotten as a result of going through, the program. And so once you move through that program, then, they graduate you to a new phase, starting to assess your business plan, giving you critical feedback, areas that you should challenging your concepts, to really make sure your product is viable in the market. And so I had to work with my accounting to revise numbers, projections, and really make the document lean, and one that you can browse through easily without spending or requiring a whole lot of time.
Was there anything was there anything that you had intended to do that you decided to shift a bit because of what you learned in the program?
You break up a bit just now.
Was there anything that you had intended to do previously, but after going through the program, you decided to tweak? You decided to go in a different direction? Was there anything like that?
Yeah, I don't. No, not specifically. I mean, generally, the concept of our plan. I think we looked at how we can expand our product offering and our routes, to increase our revenue. And so, that was a plus as a result of going through the program. Initially we were looking at just one route. Now we're looking at two routes, and a startup and expansion a lot sooner than we were planning on. And so certainly that's been a benefit.
Yeah.
Can you say which financial institution you inevitably were funded by?
Well, right now we're working with Fidelity.
Oh, okay.
And so they're providing this awesome opportunity for us, to really mobilize this operation.
So actually that Chester, that was actually a question I wanted to put to Valentino. What I like about his business and the way Nicholas, Felice, and the team structured his funding sources, is actually funded with a mix. So there's debt, there's equity, and there's grant. So there are actually three funding sources in his overall package. And I imagine also there are resources from himself and his family as well. Can you speak to the three types of funding that you were able to access through the Access Accelerator and the amounts as well, please?
Right. And so, I mean, that's been probably one of the biggest changes, right? Because, initially we were looking at just straight up financing for this proposal. And talking with the team there, and what they are capable of providing and what's out there in the market, they presented a mix of options. Really, I think that was critical in helping to make this possible, given the current climate we're in, and the reluctance of some of the institutions to, take on a new operation, especially at the for this kind of money. And so really, they've introduced us to the Bahamas Venture Fund. And so we have a financing from their side that's really equity financing. And so I think that's been critical in helping, to make our plan a lot more attractive, in the market. And so the SPDC itself provided some financing around the tone of maybe $50K, and also grant of $20K. And so we started with that. We picked up an additional 250K with the Bahamas Venture Fund as part of our equity. Right. And now we're doing, the balance of, I think, 415K with Fidelity Bank. And so, for a total package of around 735K. And so we may be one of the bigger projects with the SBDC, and really, I think the creativity that was applied to this process really is what made it possible. And so thank you for, reminding me on that, Davinia, because really that's been probably the biggest change, that happened in this whole relationship.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's why we're so excited to have multiple partners, and they're all looking at these projects together with a view of seeing how we could support the small businesses. One other thing, Chester, if you don't mind, we've been talking a lot about the farming project that's really throughout the Bahamas, but a lot of emphasis has been on Andros. And so what we love about this particular client is that I'm sure that you could see lots of linkages that you expect between the farmers in Andros and what you can do for them. Do you want to speak about the economic impact you expect to help with in Andros?
Certainly. I mean, generally, even outside of this enterprise, I have a passion, for industry development and partnering with Bahamians overall, especially, young Bahamians like myself that are looking to, realize dreams of developing businesses. And so, shipping is critical, is really the foundation of our economy. Everything, nothing happens in the Bahamas unless products are shipped. And so with our operation, even with our startup, providing shipping services between Nassau and Andros, certainly Andros being one of the farming islands, we're looking to do work with farmers there to export products to Nassau, provide proper storage facilities for their goods that, may need cooling in a certain environment, the right kind of temperature so that the products are preserved, and really, to give them better access to the Nassau market, even on a more timely service. Certainly that's the same for fishing as well. A lot of times fishermen have to transport equipment, trailers, small boats, engines and so forth, to and from Andros for various reasons. And so certainly, this is an opportunity for people in that industry to provide, shipping services that would be desperately needed. And then when you look at the kind of equipment we're going to be investing in, all of this really helps to facilitate the easy transshipment of equipment, roll-on, roll-off operation, where, it's a lot easier to maneuver and load and unload heavy cargo.
Yeah.
And so, this would be, a welcome, certainly a welcome support from those industries.
Sounds excellent. We need to take a break. When we come back, Valentine, we want to find out more about the future, what you see as the 5-year plan, 10 years down the road for Central Andros Shipping. And we want to explore that when we get back. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9.
But they call him Lousy Dude. You should have seen him.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAO, growing wealth for future generations.
It's so summer with Esso, and that's why we're giving away thousands of dollars in fuel, food, and other fun prizes every week. Simply fuel up at $25 or more. Enter using your receipt, and you could be a winner this summer with Esso. Terms and conditions apply. Visit bettergasmileage.com/It's So Summer or our Facebook page for details. Promotion ends August 29th, 2021. It's fun! Food, fuel, and other great prizes every week. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
Got your quick final look at weather for this morning. Here's what's happening. We've got troughing near the extreme northwest Bahamas. That's going to trigger some pockets of showers and thunderstorms over portions of the northwest and central islands through tonight. Meanwhile, high pressure ridging maintains moderate to locally fresh winds. Everybody's being advised to remain hydrated and limit outdoor exposure to the sun due to the very high heat indices we're expecting again today, triple digits. And boaters in the northwest Bahamas should be alert for waterspouts. Beachgoers in the southeast Bahamas should be exercising caution along south and east coast beaches. For all areas today, variably cloudy, hot, and humid with a few isolated showers and the chance of isolated thunderstorms. Breezy conditions expected in the southeast Bahamas. High temperatures is going to be very hot today. Highs getting up to the mid-90s, around 9 Celsius. The heat index will make it feel like 107 Fahrenheit, 42 Celsius. And overnight lows tonight getting down to 77 Fahrenheit, 25 Celsius. In your extended outlook, a weak pressure pattern will meander and persist across the area through Friday. So Thursday, partly mostly sunny, hot and breezy, mainly in the central and southeast islands. Shower chances and thunderstorm chances increasing in the extreme northwest Bahamas. Friday, partly cloudy, hot and breezy, mainly again in the central and southeastern islands. Isolated showers and the chance of thunderstorms in the extreme northwest Bahamas. That's your morning blend weather check.
Yeah! Oh, shucks. Thank God it's Friday, no working till Monday. My bites are back, going back to the family islands. Hey! Gonna get a little R&R, dance a little rake and scrape. Party till they bring some Johnny cake.
We are back here with Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards. We are talking with Valentina Monroe with Central Andros Shipping, and we've got Dominic Ferguson with Fidelity, and from Access Accelerator, Small Business Development Center, Davinia Bain and Nicholas Higgs. All right, so Valentina Monroe, tell us about 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. What can we expect from Central Andros Shipping?
Thank you, Dwight. And so we hope to have our equipment here in operations over the next 3 months. And so we'll start our initial route from Nassau to Andros, probably look at North Andros as well. In about 6 months following that, we look to add our Florida Andros route, where we would do, once a week service, between Florida and Andros. And then we would have to return back to that weekly operation. And so, we'll have the opportunity to provide Florida shipping services to the residents here in Nassau as well, by way, of Andros. And then, we look to probably in maybe in just under a year to start to look at the opportunity to add a second vessel, because the critical thing with this industry is, you have to keep moving and you have to continue to look for opportunities, because based on the cost of the equipment, you can't stay laid up anywhere for too long. And so the expansion is critical, to the success of this business. And so we're going to hope to add a second vessel maybe in a year or so, so we can comfortably service those routes. And then we're going to start to look at providing U.S. shipping services, to South. And so we're going to look to see how we can bring Bimini into the mix, maybe provide services between Florida, Bimini, and Andros. How can we possibly bring Exoma and Long Island into the mix?
Wow.
Because really an American company provides most of the U.S. shipping to most of our growing family islands. And, as someone who really keeps my ear on the ground in the industry, I'm familiar with some of the challenges that, Bahamians experience in doing business with, some of the foreign companies. And so I think there's opportunity there, for a Bahamian enterprise, to enter that market and to, have some success and growth. And so our vision really is to own a fleet of vessels, where we can really provide an incredible level of service in the industry, utilizing, technology to streamline the process, make it overall, a lot more efficient and pleasant for our customers. So, ultimately, I want to build, to build and expand, my family's legacy that's been in the business for many years, and really hope to, leave something, that will go on for generations to come.
That's some big and very exciting dreams there. We're going to be rooting for you and following you very closely. Thank you very much for sharing with us, Valentino Monroe. And in our final minute, Davinia, Nicholas, Dominic, let's talk about this. People who are hearing Valentino and his dream, and they have dreams themselves. They've got a startup or they're thinking about it, what they need to be doing, what they need to be thinking about, and what the Access Accelerator and Small Business Development Center can do for them.
The final thing I would say is that please don't give up. The SBDC is growing along with you. So we're making extremely good changes to try and help make your experience even more efficient. So please work with us. We're here to help you accomplish your goals. And we look forward to seeing all new businesses succeed.
Okay.
I would only add that, as Mr. Monroe mentioned, even prior to coming to us, as a business person, he would have had a lot of experience, and his family's been in the business for quite some time. And so it wasn't completely new to him, while this entity, may be considered a startup. So even with, loads of experience and exposure and acumen, it's still good to have somebody help you walk through the process, help you decode all of the fancy stuff that Dominic ask for. And, we sit there and we criticize commercial banks often for not funding small businesses, and SBDC the same way. We had to take the time to sit with them and figure out, okay, why haven't you been funding small and medium-sized businesses? Let's find out what those challenges were and create an ecosystem with partners that could help to solve those problems. And we've been doing that systematically. I'm very proud of my team. And on a constant basis now, we see companies like Monroe having a successful time with mainstream financial institutions. So that's what we're doing. That's what our other clients can look forward to. The only thing I would say is, just trust the process, work with the team members that are in front of you. Trying to skip over steps and skip over team members doesn't necessarily help, because at the end of the day, there's a checklist that Dominic those are looking for, that no matter who's dealing with it, we have to fill those gaps. So I really want to thank my team. This today is a hallmark time for us, because we see ourselves being able to help many more companies like Valentino's. This is just, one one piece of the overall journey for us, and we're excited.
Okay.
And I just want to add, just to echo what Davinia said, in trusting the process. Our purpose is to get to a yes. So we may ask for additional items, but our sole purpose is to get to a yes. We don't have a no in our vocabulary right now. We're trying to get to a yes.
Wow.
So if you trust the process, it may take a little longer than you may want, but we'll get you there.
All right, wonderful stuff. Thank you again, Davinia Bain, Nicholas Higgs, Dominic Ferguson, Valentina Monroe, and we look forward to talking with AASBDC again next month. Thank you very much, folks. Really appreciate it. Chester Robards, thank you for being here. Welcome back again.
Mahalo, aloha.
I'll see you next week, and I'll be back tomorrow morning with more Morning Blend and more Morning Blend business here on Guardian Radio 96.9. On the clock with Aaron Green next.